2019, the time is 9:00 a.m. Wonder, Miss Kelly, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Where's your bow tie, Clint? Doggone you.
Too much trouble trying to
I brought my
wife to do
I
that.
brought my pledge tie in and my hat just because I knew you would be patriotic. You let me down.
I'm still feeling it in here. I think it was that meatball I had last night.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Clerk to the Board, would you conduct a roll call, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Camden.
Here.
Commissioner Prince. Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
Clerk to the Board of Elections.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, yeah, that was me. Did you want to excuse yourself?
What?
No, I picked up what I thought was mud.
What has happened?
That wasn't mud.
Who does that on TV?
You farmers, you walk in it all day long.
That's the problem. I must have stepped in it this morning.
Oh, I just got the aroma too.
Could you open the windows, or and then I pick it up off the
Would you like me to
floor?
take the boots off and
You wanna go?
set 'em on the-
Oh!
I'm glad. Can you do that for the camera?
Yeah,
Truly an egg.
Should we take a short recess?
that's just what I was
Let's
thinking.
take a recess.
If you don't mind,
Scrape his
2-minute
boots
recess.
off.
Let the record show.
Only
I thought it was mud.
Only
I don't know which
in
smell
Custer
worked my
County,
hand.
That's what I said. Only in Custer County.
I've seen it all now.
Meeting will hopefully come back to order.
It was never in order in the first place.
That's true. We never had much order in the first place. That's exactly right. So. Right to Ranch County, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Whew. Thank you.
I make a motion that we buy the scrapers for the front door and the back.
Oh.
Do I hear a second?
We need to tune up the
We'd
front
have to
door.
find somebody to actually use those. Audience introductions, please.
Jackie Pubis for the Sentinel.
Bob Jolly from the airport. Lynn LeGree, airport.
All right, good morning, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
Then I have.
Nor do I. No minutes to approve that I'm aware of. Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to begin, sir?
I'll be happy to. I'm not gonna go back and list the ones that I missed yesterday, but I did have a very interesting conversation yesterday with one of the principals of the family who donated the Beckwith Ranch to the Beckwith Foundation. Very nice gentleman, I believe he's in Dallas. I he asked me what the procedure was to do a couple things with Beckwith, and I suggested that he go through planning and zoning to see if it's even necessary. He wants to put a commercial kitchen in the building so that if they have events, they'll be able to have a caterer come out and take care of things like that. He also mentioned that the bunkhouse, they would like to be able to put a person who will live on the property and be kind of a caretaker. Apparently some things have disappeared over the last several months, and they're very concerned about that. I told them that they needed to make sure that they met whatever requirements that planning and zoning had, that he should stop in with Jackie, but he was very concerned that the BOCC would not support such a concept about a commercial kitchen and having someone live on there. And I certainly cannot speak for the Board of County Commissioners, but we treasure the Beckwith Ranch as a foundation of our heritage, and that I suspect that the commissioners will support what he's trying to do. So I didn't make any commitments, but I told him the procedure go through. But I just wanted to report that. I told him, he asked me if I'd run it by you this morning, and I just wanted to let you know what I told him and how we handled that.
I mean, Kevin, the zoning book, only thing I can think that they would have a concern about it, it's in a historic status. I don't know whether that eliminates doing too many modern upgrades inside. I don't know. That's something for them to look at.
That's a fair question, and that's why I suggested you talk to.
So that doesn't preclude them from doing it in another building.
Right, but he wanted to just come directly to us and ask for our permission. I told him that, as much as that sounded like a really expeditious way of doing it, the right way to do it is to go through planning and zoning first. It may have to go to their committee if it's some modification, you need a special use permit or something like that, and then it'll ultimately come to us. And he was very thankful, and I was very grateful to him.
And we've been looking at liquor licenses temporary out there for years.
Well, we always do that. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
And it's stuff that you do is
Right, but this would be a permanent modification, being a commercial kitchen. So I just want to advise you where that was and what's going on.
Couple comments about that, if I may.
Sure.
For the record, and you guys may not know this, you do certainly as being their attorney. I was on the board of directors for Beckwith Ranch. I resigned a couple weeks ago. So, a couple things. One, in response to your comment about the historical perspective of that, they put air conditioners on all those buildings.
Yeah.
They've rewired all the electrical, so that's
maybe some of that's out the
so
window.
the historical's kind of down the drain when it comes to that. They are trying to preserve as much of that on the inside and outside as they can, but it's not like it's the historical. It's not been, I gotta be careful what I say here. I'm not saying it's not on the historical registry somewhere, but they can still do stuff out there, obviously. If it was, they wouldn't have been able to put the air conditioner in. So, when I was on the board, I said, I thought it would be good to try to find somebody to live there at least through the summer tourist season.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And if nothing else, maybe an RV in the back. They wouldn't have to live in that bunkhouse necessarily, but maybe do some kind of a RV hookup behind those barns on the west, and somebody could live there. We did it at the Saddle Club a couple of years. We hired it. Husband and wife, they come up here on vacation every year. We said, hey, why don't you just bring your RV, put it out there, and you can live there and be a caretaker. It worked out perfect. So, anyway, thought about that, but I did want to tell you I'm no longer on that board. Yeah, thank you. Too many things. So, anything else, sir?
The question came about a road that 328M, which is a private road. County, very strange the way these private roads and roads for the county has it platted in the 1800s and then abandoned it, and the private road was made a little squabble between some of the owners, and I told them they need to work that out. It's not a county issue since it's not a county road. So those are the only two things I've done here yesterday.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just two things. And I need to find out how the meeting went last night with Roger and the guys. Sent you my thing. I did talk to Kunkelman, and he wasn't aware of the squabble we had on digging up the phone lines. He's upset to hear that we got hammered. He asked me for copies, and I asked him to get a copy of the letters we've sent out. Our just may it be charged a fee and all that jazz. And then, so he's gonna look into that as well. And then, he still is concerned about not missing he's gotta get the Connect America fiber in before it. Just didn't wanna have two on hold of them. I said, well, we're working. So what happened yesterday?
I'll give a report.
And then, so anyway, the good news is he's the director of, got an engineer. He knew an engineer was gonna come up and talk to us. So it's good to know that he can do a little bit more for us. The other thing is, I did talk to David Watts, and he took the fact that we didn't get the ready grant in stride and said, well, and I told him we were gonna look at all options, and I emphasized all, keep the cost down for him, and so, and I said, I'm not ready to do any, we got a lot of things we got to consider yet on that, so we'll go forward from there. And I talked to Glenn and Bob about it, and we'll go out there and start hauling fuel. And that's all I have since
Gotta
yesterday.
go cry in our beer first.
Yeah, go cry in the beer first. That was disappointing that they didn't even, because they considered, although I should have caught a glimpse, because they asked us if we'll take less, remember? If it's not the whole amount that we asked for. Then they asked a question, well, will we have matching funds regardless of what they do? You know, so I think they felt that they could go and pee somebody else because we already had somebody helping us. I regret even mentioning that now. So anyway, that's all I got.
I'm looking under my sent files, and I had told Bill yesterday during that meeting that I forwarded the notice of non-award letter from DOLA to both of you. I look in my sent file and I put forwarded it back to me.
Oh, that's why.
So
I
here it
didn't
is,
see
right there.
Okay.
I've read it, I've received it earlier.
You did from me?
I don't remember where I got it, but I read it,
Okay.
and then I got it a second.
I know that I had a problem with the server on that computer, so I never got any mail.
I think, Miss Meredith sent it to me
I
a week or so ago, as soon as it came in.
It didn't get here till Monday, I don't think. Anyway, we got it. Everybody knows
I
aware.
was disappointed.
I was very disappointed.
It's the first time I've seen DOLA actually turn something down flat. I've been with them several times where they've come and said, well, we can't fund the whole thing, we can
Yeah,
take a
and
portion.
but you know, part of the problem might have been Christie was there and then she wasn't, and then Winkler picked it up, and I'm sure there wasn't the advocacy that there could have been.
I'll buy that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have an honest conversation with them and find out why. I've got my suspicions, but I don't think
They
we'll
did
ever
leave
know.
us a number to call, but I'm gonna call Winkler up first if we do anything.
So, okay. Anything else, sir? All right. Yesterday afternoon, I was actually home and got a phone call that, from Road and Bridge that said that the meeting that I had on my calendar and had communicated with both of you that was gonna be on the 17th, after our workshop at Road and Bridge at 3:30 in the afternoon, actually was scheduled for yesterday afternoon. So they called me at home and said, are you coming to this meeting? I said, what meeting? And Roger Squire said, well, we scheduled a meeting with the subcontractors for the pre-construction meeting. And I said, I have it in my calendar and informed the commissioners that it was on the 17th at 3:30. He said, no. So I got thinking about that. And maybe he said July 2nd. I thought he said July 17th. I said July 17th. He thought I said July 2nd. I don't know, we got our wires crossed. Certainly wasn't trying to circumvent you gentlemen attending that. So I came back to town real quick and met with them down in the conference room there in Road and Bridge. There were 3 companies represented that are doing the subcontracting, plowing in of fiber optic cable in various parts of the county for CenturyLink. So we just basically kind of had a pre-con meeting and said, okay, you know, what's the procedures, how are you going to go about it? when he's gonna start and that kind of stuff.
You ask them to dig them deeper than
They
6 inches.
think, well, their contracts all say 36 inches.
Do they?
So,
I did
so
tell
the-
Kunkelman that we've been hooking them at 6 inches, you know, and all that.
well, not
Issues.
fiber optic.
No, I know,
Those are
but
phone
the
lines.
things they've been dragging in.
So there was, the high points of the thing was that, one of the companies has already started developing, there's 11 sites, he's got all those developed except 2, and those sites are basically where the fiber comes up into the boxes and they deal with that. So he's already working. Another company is probably gonna start transporting their equipment and supplies up here today. He's ready to start work on Monday because of the holiday, so we're not.
There is no delay then.
This
is there?
pre-con meeting had nothing to do with that. I think the word was that we were gonna put the kibosh onto it until we had a chance to talk to CenturyLink and deal with this
This
billing
other issue, that's what I
of
thought too when I talked to him.
these phone lines that are buried way shallower than they're supposed to be, and we hook them when we blade the roads, and then we get these enormous repair bills from CenturyLink. So, Tony from CenturyLink was there, and he was not aware of that initial bill for whatever it was that we paid, and then $365 service charge on top of that, collection fee, and so I had that conversation and told him the same thing, that we would send him all that material.
Tim's impression is we shouldn't even get billed.
Well, that's,
Screwed up.
yeah,
So
so,
that would have been the neighborly thing to do, he said, between us and them.
Tony said that obviously that all went around his desk, or he would have known about it. He didn't know anything about it. So I don't know when that was. Obviously we dealt with it. We paid their original repair bill. The local tech here is probably submitting those straight to the office, and they don't go through the channel of the people that we're working with. So
So I understand a little better if I may, please. We felt that we should have had the line marked, and we failed to do that.
So we
Road
felt
bridge,
that
because someone made an error. I'm certainly not, just not a blame thing, I'm just trying to get the facts the way I understand it. Because we didn't mark it, one of the road bridge pieces of equipment ripped the phone line. They charged us a little over $2,000, if I remember, to repair it. And then we had that collection fee and all that stuff. Unfortunately, took care of that for us. But we didn't pay the bill because we felt we wouldn't negligent by not having it marked. Was the real issue that the line was not deep enough?
in this
Is that
case,
what I'm hearing?
we really have 3 cases now. So we're gonna call this case number 1 that you're referring to. Part of it was that it was not deep enough. The other part of it was that they just put that line under a cattle guard.
Yeah.
Instead of going out around the cattle guard, tunneling under the road, or boring under the road, or even trenching it, they just ran it under the cattle guard. So when they cleaned the cattle guard out, they hooked that phone line. I would never dream that you would locate a phone line under a cattle guard.
That'd be silly.
But
That was the easy way
So-
out, they just threw it under there.
So case number 1. Case number 2, about a week ago, one of the blade hands hooked a phone line and tore it out. They estimated at 6 inches below grade, which is unacceptable. We have not heard anything other than the fact that CenturyLink said they would investigate that and act accordingly. So Tony's aware of that with CenturyLink. And then yesterday, they hooked another line that they thought was between 6 and 8 inches below grade. So it's an ongoing problem. These locates, these call 1 locates, they will not indicate the depth. They only tell you within 3 feet of where the line is. So we had that conversation last night too, and one of the guys that does a lot of the locate said, you know, if I can, I will try to help you determine the depth, but Caliber says they got a guy and he'll hand dig with a shovel till they find it. So he said, we're gonna do everything we can to avoid that. They were plowing in roughly 60,000 linear feet of cable, as I understand it, in 3 different areas of the county, kinda off out, Little Little Horn Road. I didn't know this. There's 2 Little Horn Roads.
Yeah, I know there are, it's confusing.
Do you know where they're at?
Yeah.
I didn't. I only knew the one
I do.
going just a spur off of Horn Road. And then I find out yesterday there's one in Silver Cliff Heights. So they're working out there. They're working kind of over in the Waikegel area and then one other area. So they thought they would be done by the end of September. That's their plan.
And that's why he didn't want to miss that.
Uh,
There is no delay, I'll talk to Tim.
Tony had a conversation with Kunkelman yesterday afternoon, and he told him that it wasn't a delay, this was just a
Okay, so that was good.
So, anyway, that was, I know Roger he's still highly agitated about the whole billing from the case number 1. And he said, you know, we need to address that before I start signing all these contracts, because it was the only leverage we had. Kunkelman probably got word of that, thought we were ready to put a halt on the whole project. So I wonder, Counselor, if I provide you the name and address of Tony that was there yesterday representing CenturyLink, if we could just forward him all that stuff from that first case of where we paid the bill and we refused to pay the administrative fee.
Sure.
I'll get that.
That's what I had asked, I told Tim yesterday that we would send a copy to him, so that's.
Well, then maybe instead of duplicating efforts, Meredith could do it to both. I have his card, I left it on my dresser. So if you'll hold off doing that until I get you Tony.
Meredith was gonna check to see if
I
Well,
don't,
the
I
Clint's
don't,
got it all, so
I know,
let's just have
she was,
Clint do it.
she was just checking.
yeah, I was
with
just about to
Clint.
say, I don't have all
Yeah,
of the
let's let Clint
documents,
do it.
'cause
Yeah,
I
let
think I
Clint.
came in like,
Yeah,
Right,
right.
yeah. Do you mind doing that, sir?
No, that's fine.
I may have both of those in my briefcase too, I'll look before we leave today, and Kunkelman and Tim Kunkelman and Tony, I forget his last name, but I've got his business card. So that kind of was the long and the short of that meeting. We talked about some safety and road closures. Currently there are no total road closures planned, there will be partial 1-lane closures. The idea, the contracts are written that they will plow in the right-of-way unless they're geophysically incapable of doing that, then they will come up onto the road surface and plow in. And then everything needs to be left in the pre-existing condition that it was in, including mag chloride on any roads, because they're gonna get into some of that on a stretch of road. So they're gonna hire a company out of Fremont County to come up and re-mag chloride the road. It's not mag chloride, but that's what we know it as, so. So I think it was pretty good, it lasted about an hour and.
It's good.
But take it off my 17th.
Yeah, I gotta do the same thing, so we can scratch that.
You could go there with Clint.
Off of the
I mean,
17th.
I'm very interested in this.
No, I was kidding,
So,
because Clint goes to meetings that don't exist.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. There were 3 companies there, Poly Construction, Caliber, and Ranger was the 3rd one, all out of Colorado Springs. And right now they're kind of planning on driving back and forth. And so I encourage them to look at the possibility of staying here locally in the motels and
Great ideas.
see how that all goes. But good bunch of guys. Now there were 2 of their quote unquote workers. The rest of those were lead men, managers. But they all sounded like they were really committed to this deal, and you know, we're excited to be here to try to help this. CenturyLink, Tony said this is by far the biggest plow-in job they've got going in the state right now.
Really?
Wonderful.
So 10, 11 miles of fiber being plowed in on basically county road right-of-ways. Pretty serious. Then they're gonna pull another fiber down through, it's on the south side of Maine, and then I think that big conduit, they're gonna pull another one in there.
If I may, just, the fiber is strictly for internet broadband, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't say
I
that.
don't know, is the fiber's not voice or?
I don't know.
I would assume they're gonna do both. I
they
keep
were
looking back
talking
there at Big Dale, he
Connect
may know
America.
more
They
about it than
know.
I do, but
Is that
you
what it
can-
is, Dale?
It's both.
both, I would think. I couldn't imagine just plowing fiber in only for
Not with,
broadband, but I wasn't gonna say, cause I don't know. But,
Thanks.
all right, so that was that. Let me see here. I guess that was it since yesterday, so. Anything else, gentlemen? Commissioner report? Okay. We'll move on. I have nothing on Upper Ark report. I did just a quick thing. I reported yesterday on the Upper Ark report that the Cook statement of opposition, the water referee initially threw it out. Then they appealed that and said, no, we did send it in on time, we have a record of that, and blah, blah, blah. So, I did get, confirmation that the referee reinstated that. There were, I think, about 4 or 5 people in that statement of opposition, so they're back in as an opposer officially. Yes?
That's KOCH, right?
Yeah, Barb Cook, K-O-C-H. Her name was first, so that's why they're calling it the Cook
Yeah,
statement.
I
of
just
office.
knew
It's
it
Cook
wasn't C-O-O-K, I
Right.
wanted to verify
Yeah.
that.
Yep,
Spelled
yep.
the same as Koch, the Koch
Right,
brothers on
right.
campus.
Yeah.
Spelled the same.
Or Koch, like Ed Koch, the mayor in New York.
Koch also, right.
It's funny how they pronounce the same thing 3 different ways.
Attorney items.
Well, as I was,
Drum roll, please.
now I hope this lives up to.
Yeah, it better.
And I've just been trying to absorb all this, and I certainly haven't had a chance to get through all of it, but what Kelly gave me, and just a couple of things to highlight, just summarize what I'm finding here.
So 88 was correct while you're looking, sir. We talked about that yesterday, right?
Well, there was the service plan, March 3 in 1988, and what I've got here, it also says January 2015 revision, final.
Yes, that would have been after the November 14 election.
Right. But just to start with this, because as far as
Which document are you on, sir?
I'm starting with
March
the
3.
service plan that's March 3, 88 with the January 2015 revision,
Okay.
which looks like this.
They do call it the West Custer
Got it.
County Hospital District, didn't
Yeah,
they?
but they didn't originally,
Yeah,
Custer County Clinic, I think.
Custer County Medical Center.
Whatever they were doing
Over
back
here, they
before,
called
but-
it West Custer on the
Mhm.
document.
But that was in 2015.
This one here, yeah.
Well, the point, I'm not sure when they became a formal or special
It says
district,
88
but
No, it doesn't.
it doesn't
That
matter.
was in 88.
88 was when they, and this was their service plan.
Right.
And this one, it says the district will also furnish ambulance service providing 24-hour emergency coverage. The history of this, cause I remember back, I prepared the ballot initiative, or the language for that proposal, where they wanted to, get funds to fund the ambulance EMS, but to make sure it was done, that money was kept separate. That was, what was finally done in November of 2014. Cause they had tried like the year before in 2013, and that one was not approved. But just to quote some language in here, it's on like the 3rd page. It says ambulance service will be provided by an emergency medical technician corps. A minimum number of the corps will be on call 24 hours a day and will be available through radio dispatch facilities, will be supervised by clinic staff personnel. And this was all in 2015, and I remember because they submitted this, they wanted the commissioners at that time to approve this. The commissioners didn't take any action on it, and my research back at the time is that the commissioners had 30 days to either approve or disapprove of the service plan, and since they didn't, it just went into effect at that time.
Went into effect.
It went into effect, the modified service plan, went into effect in 2015 because of, no further action by the Board of County Commissioners to review it and have any comment on it. Talks about a map of the district being attached, and the map on the very back of this backside, it shows the east boundary line pretty much going through McKenzie Junction, north and south. It doesn't go all the way over to Wetmore, to San Isabel or that area. That was the map of the district, and I think that was the map from the beginning of the
Yeah, I
hospital
think that's
district.
still
and
the
that's it.
accepted map.
But anyway, they got this extra funding, but the interesting thing from going through all this is an agreement that was entered into January 3, 1989 between the Board of County Commissioners and the West Custer County Hospital District.
Now, which document are you
where you
looking at,
reading
sir?
It says agreement,
Okay, hold on just a second.
not the resolution, there's a resolution from 1987.
Probably, Tom, right behind that
Here it is.
1987, because those were, yeah,
There
right
it is.
there.
Stuck together,
Okay,
thank
but
you.
this 1988 agreement, which as far as or 1989 agreement, excuse me, you go down here, so this is where the county actually turned over the ambulances. But if you look at number 4, the district agrees to pay all costs of operation and to provide ambulance service that has historically been provided by the ambulance corps, even though that service will be for areas outside the district.
Okay, hold on, what number is that, sir?
Number
4.
We just got these this morning,
Number
Right,
four.
that's number 4.
Okay, thank
Down at the
you.
bottom.
That was the agreement at the time, that in exchange for getting the ambulances, and we were agreeing to provide the same service that had been provided previously, which
For that cost,
I'm, yeah,
outside the district.
and I'm assuming that the ambulance corps, provided service all the way to the county
Will you
line.
read number 4 again, please?
The district agrees to pay all costs of operation and to provide ambulance service that has historically been provided by the ambulance corps, even though that service will be for areas outside the district. So there was an agreement back then, they would provide ambulance service beyond the boundaries of the hospital district. If that's what the ambulance corps had been doing in the past, that may require some.
And I think they have, because there was no boundaries prior to that, it was county.
Well, that's, as I understand it, and the county had the ambulances, and we agreed to, the district desired to lease the ambulances from the board, and we agreed to, and they'll agree to be responsible for maintaining the ambulances and the equipment and everything, continue to be insured under the policies that the board of county commissioners has, that the district agrees to reimburse the board for the cost of that insurance. I have no idea if that's ever been done. But that was the agreement. I don't see that language, that agreement was ever changed or modified by anything that came along
After
subsequent to
that,
that,
yeah.
as far as I can see, so.
So they're not obligated to stay in their boundaries as the cost, the way they're interpreting it today, it sounds like.
That's, I mean, when Lisa Drew was here, she was saying they can't continue to cover.
That's not true.
And according to this, they were agreeing they would way back then, and, I don't know if everybody's just sort of ignored that. What was going on in 2015 is there was a lot of animosity between the Board of County Commissioners at that time, and, especially Delwyn Lester is the director of the hospital. There wasn't any communication. He'd been invited in to meet with the commissioners, he wouldn't come in, and they wouldn't approve this without talking to him, and they just let this modified service plan, or the revision in January 2015 go, and then the hospital district, and I don't remember how they did it, but they decreed and said it's now in effect because 30 days have passed, so that's been what they've been operating under, but even though they don't provide 24-hour emergency coverage, they stopped doing that. Well, maybe they are still doing that now, but they were supposed to be open also, I think, 24/7, and they cut their hours way back. That was, what originally was agreed upon, and I think that was maybe the big change.
Go ahead, sir.
Council, in the 2015 revision, which is final, I have not read this document yet, but was there anything in here that modified the 1989 agreement where it limited it only to the hospital district?
No, I don't see anything in here that changes that at all. I got a feeling nobody even knew that agreement existed at this time.
Nobody
We
looked.
dug all this out.
I think Mr. is gonna be happy with all this.
Well, I mean, cause I think that agreement is still legally binding. I don't see that was ever changed despite
And you can't change it by just
ignoring
take a
it.
vote.
No, they, And like I said, this wasn't any communication going on at that time.
Right.
So, I think that's just, and this is obviously very cursory, I'm looking at this, I only had a few minutes head start.
Did we give Ms. Drew a copy of all of this? She needs a copy of it.
Not yet.
I just got it all together this morning.
I think she wanted
So what, you were here until what, midnight,
I think
2 a.m.
different.
working on this?
Yeah.
You think they'd have provided us
It's you two.
this documentation?
Or you were here for something else too.
Living in some dream world up there.
I'll bet if they dig through their files, they probably won't even find all this stuff
No.
anymore, but.
I know what you're gonna say, I'm interrupting.
It's
Probably
open
involved in the Dusty Foot.
cooperation between organizations, even though they're a special district. We need to share anything we find with them, plus positive or negative.
What we're gonna do is
I don't
say,
think we would wanna hide a document from them.
Well, we're not hiding it, we're talking about it in a public meeting, so wouldn't be any hiding.
My personal opinion is we send her everything we have that's relevant to this particular issue, so we're all on the same page when we come down to
let's talk
deciding
about
how it's gonna be resolved. That's my opinion.
Seems like the newspaper articles from before each one of these ballot initiatives, see what the quotes were, see what they were telling the communities, if they voted one way or the other on it, what was gonna happen, would be a good thing to have.
somebody said that,
Or
Tribune
their
couldn't
minutes.
find it or something, somebody actually asked me for it.
I also feel that, Commissioner Flower was correct in his interpretation of the ballot question itself. Not limiting the scope of the service that's going to be provided for the mill levy. Now, if the people in a specific area haven't been paying that mill levy, that's another issue, but the ballot initiative certainly doesn't restrict it to only the hospital district, in my opinion, and I thought that was very astute.
Somebody made a statement that day that, they never saw that ballot issue because they weren't offered the opportunity to vote.
I heard
Is
that
that
too.
true?
What
Yes.
district did, what precinct did they live in?
Down in Wetmore, is what he
They
was
didn't,
saying.
Yeah.
precinct
That was,
3 didn't vote on that.
that's what I'm saying.
2.
Or two did not vote on it.
Not all of them, but.
Well, yeah, it's not the whole
That was,
precinct, anybody
Mark,
outside of the district.
Mark Halpin made that statement.
Mike?
Or Mike, I mean, it's Mark, my son.
I think we've kind of come to the agreement, and how many boards now, I think we have, saying that our next ballot initiative that's coming up in 2020, this would be back on there for the folks who haven't been given the opportunity to participate.
Yeah.
But, very interesting documents we found.
Good job, Kelly.
The other thing I think we need to look into, dovetail, sir, on we're still in the attorney's report. After doing some research yesterday, I am of the firm belief that the ambulance barn that we refer to it was paid for by RETAC money. And if that's the case, which I think it is, the clinic does not own that building. I'm gonna guess that RETAC grant went through the county commissioners, but we're gonna have to do some research on that. Southern Colorado RETAC. If the county paid for that building, then I get it that the clinic may think they own it. Right now, I'm convinced the clinic thinks they own that building. I don't believe that's the case.
Let's find out.
So if the commissioners decide to do anything with the quote-unquote ambulance corps, what it used to be called, then it would include the building, all the equipment, supplies, and of course the ambulances themselves.
What does the assessor say?
Don't know.
Kelly, is that something that you research, or is it, how do we determine how that ambulance barn?
All this says in the agreement is it's just the equipment, doesn't say anything about land or buildings, it's just the equipment.
No, the building, there was a document in there, I believe, again, I haven't read them either, so I need to digest
It
all
was
of
about
this.
2000 when that big building was?
2002,
Was it
I
2000?
think I saw something in here about that, so.
That's the case.
We came on in 97 and worked at least 2 years out of the little building.
Yes. So, I think that's something else we're gonna have to do, is determine the ownership of that building, how it was paid for. if you look at the next to the last page of the document with the little squiggly person on it, of course, in those days, obviously, we didn't number any pages.
I think that's a doctor running to help the
The
patient.
above described real property is included within the boundaries, oh, I'm sorry, that's not it, that's when they brought in the gym or the woods gym. Thank you, sir. So that's not it, I apologize. So I just think there's some more research we're gonna have to do to figure that out. I would think we probably ought to ask council to continue to poke around in some of that as well as we certainly can too. I think we need to determine ownership of,
I know JD will show it as unassessed property,
right.
but beyond that.
But he should be able to, he'll be able to tell you who owns it.
Yeah, I'm sure he can.
Obviously Haig had donated that land. Now the big question is gonna be who did they donate it to? If they donated it to the clinic, then the clinic would own the land. The building, if it was bought with RETAC money, is not.
Well, there would have to have been some document of conveyance from the Hagas, so we'd
Yeah.
certainly see who it went to.
I think that was in '02, but
Okay.
Same
And
as
you're
that.
talking about the clinic building?
no, I'm talking
No,
about
the
the ambulance barn.
The ambulance barn,
When they moved from
right.
south of the old clinic
Yeah.
to the ambulance barn. So,
But just from looking at what I see here, I mean, my initial conclusion is that we got an agreement from 1989 that obligates them to provide service outside the boundaries of their district, and that's never been set aside, that nothing that
Yeah.
Kelly has anyway, that she found. And I'll bet they can't come up with anything that would
Right.
show that was and that's a contract, you know, that contract is good. We lived up to our end of it, we gave them now I don't know who's been paying the insurance, I'll have to ask
Right.
Donna if we pay the insurance.
yeah.
Cause we're supposed to be billing that to the hospital district, and I've got a feeling that may not have been happening.
Yeah, I think there's a general attitude of, well, that agreement's 30 years old, what difference does it make? Well, it makes all the difference in the world when the judge drops a gavel on a case, it will hold water.
It's still binding.
We don't have to have judges ruling all this here, and I guarantee you, I will support if we need to do that, because we gotta get this stuff ironed out and figure out who's responsible to do what, and who's responsible financially for what.
Yeah, and then we work how we fix the problem of whether they have enough money to operate or not. They just need to know what they're operating. We can
To
do
me,
that.
that's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue, that's what I said.
No, I agree with you. I'm agree.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Yeah, give us a little time to digest this. Maybe we put this, let me look at the agenda real quick on the 17th. It might be already on there.
One thing we have to do is, she should not be doing anything until resolved, and she's ready to stop service.
So, Ms. Meredith, could you put, further discussion of the EMS serving Wetmore area on the 17th?
Well, you have that
I
workshop.
think we did, didn't we?
Pardon?
You have
Workshop.
that workshop that
There's
day.
a workshop after
Yeah.
that. Did you want to
I'd like it in the meeting, so
Yeah.
if we have something, we could always talk about it during attorney item, I guess, if you brought it up, but,
put on?
So, Mr. Cantor just brought up something that I think is very relevant. Did they give us a date that they're gonna cease serving that area?
They did.
It's in that letter.
They did.
yeah.
No, letter,
It's
90
in that
days.
email.
It has a date.
See if I can find it.
Why, given the legalities, they can't.
Well, I'm thinking that we need to absorb this and see if we feel it's correct.
Yeah,
And,
let's,
and if it is, I think they need to be notified that we're gonna hold, that we will not accept their termination
That's
date
right.
based upon their arbitrary decision to do that. And
Based
if
upon what they know
necessary,
is
we may have to
required.
get an injunction or something to keep them from ceasing operations.
So Florence stopped it
That's
on
true.
the 23rd of June.
yes.
And Lisa's contention was they weren't stopping anything, they never had anything to stop.
Right, that's exactly where they're coming from. We haven't stopped anything, we've never we were never
That- they are
obligated to
not
do
They're
it.
in our
not gonna
district,
take over that
end of-
responsibility, that
end of
3
story.
months stop. I see, I got you, I understand what you're saying. They may have to take up the slack.
Can I get a copy of that letter from, I think I had it, but I probably didn't save it.
And that's the way it ought to be couched, Jay, because then that puts the urgency into what they need to do. It's not, you know, to fix that if
And
they
that's
have
why I
to.
think it's imperative
This
to
is
get
real.
these documents to them, so
That's
that
right.
they can say,
This says the letter dated June 6, 2019 stated that we will continue to respond to mile marker 20 on Highway 96, which is the boundary of the hospital district, eastern boundary, and mile marker 15 on Highway 165 through September 5, 2019. Doesn't mean anything as far as Wetmore. She's not addressing east of Wetmore, so.
Which this does. If they were going to Wetmore originally.
Did the hospital district have an IGA with the Florence ambulance? I mean, do you know?
I don't know.
If there was any kind of an arrangement, just an informal thing that they were doing?
They always reference Fremont in here.
So yeah, let me read this then. So, in addition, the need of EMS services to Wetmore, it has been discovered that Custer County EMS has been responding to mile marker 17 to 20 on Highway 96 and mile marker 1 to 15 on Highway 165 outside the West Custer County Hospital District since moving from a volunteer service in April of 2014 to a paid service. Since discovering this, we feel it is not appropriate for us to continue to provide services on an ongoing basis to residents of Custer County who reside outside of the Special Tax District. CCEMS will continue to respond to these areas for the next 90 days, ceasing response on September 5th, 2019.
Thanks. Thanks.
the way I listen to that, it sounds to me like that is your drop dead date. We dumped it in your lap, commissioners. You solved this problem because as of that September date, it's your problem now, not ours. That's the way I'm interpreting that. I'm saying it kind of in the vernacular,
Sure.
but that's the way I understand it.
And if this is real, then they can't do that.
Well, that certainly would appear to be that they're jumped the gun, and obviously I agree with council that they are unaware that this
That's right.
document exists.
If they don't want to do it voluntarily, then I'm assuming the judge will decide the language and what's applicable and what
And
isn't.
like Jay said, an injunction may be necessary, temporary injunction to prohibit them from discontinuing.
Yeah, until it's all
Providing
resolved, and how we
service. Keep
resolve
everything the way it's
finances
at.
and everything else.
Right.
Okay,
But I don't mean to Pollyanna here, but regardless of how we do this, they have a terrible problem over there. And I think a lot of it is mismanagement. I'm not blaming Ms. Drew, I think they may have come well before her. I'm not sure their management has handled their, the hospital and the ambulance as well as it probably could be. But if there's truly an issue, we need to figure out how to take care of our citizens in this case. So, and I think failure to give these documents to them would create more of an adversarial, stance between us and them, and that is the last thing I wanna do. I wanna work out a cooperative resolution to however we may handle whatever this problem is. That's just my opinion, and forgive me for saying it.
As the commissioners, I can tell you, we are taking some serious bullets on this issue from the clinic. So, that means that they are not happy of us poking around in their business and being critical of how it's been happening.
well, we're not.
They never
and-
have
And
been.
that's all the more reason, Jay's right, send this over to them.
And I agree, Bill, and Tom, I get it, but the more we put walls between us, the worst this
Yeah,
will
we're
be
not
for our
gonna-
citizens.
Right.
We need, if that is true, and I'm not discounting what you're saying, we need to take the high road, we need to cooperate with them and try and get this resolved for the citizens of this
I
county.
agree.
Regardless of their attitude and how they handle it.
Yeah, I, that's where I shake out, whether they're upset or threatened or whatever, I don't care. We gotta do what's right about this.
That's right.
Providing service to those people in Wetmore and anywhere else, so.
Correct.
Obviously, they've included, the woods at Jim Mountain, they brought those in their districts afterwards. There's a resolution in that packet, so we'll read through all that,
I'll
so.
read it carefully.
They have changed. And obviously, we're talking about 30 years worth of different management, different board of directors, and so on and so forth, but, yes, ma'am.
One more piece of research that might be important is, when did they go from their reason for providing ambulance service? Cause even Keith Hood said that was the original reason.
Right.
When did they decide to become a clinic
Yeah,
and do
there's a date in
clinic?
here, because it dovetails with a ballot initiative to establish that district, or the clinic,
Okay.
Had to be before 88, cause they called it a clinic then.
so. Yeah, we call this a clinic for years,
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
so,
And they saw patients over there.
yeah.
Custer County Medical Clinic.
Oh, you can walk in.
Oh.
Yeah, you brought up some great things, Kelly, thank you for the research. Clint, thank you for
Awesome.
that. Anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
It's enough out of you, Clint, we're tired.
Admin assistant, nothing today, okay? Public
Not my
comment?
fault, she's just too efficient.
Yeah, that's great. Public comment from anyone? Okay, we'll move on. Staff report. We're only 45 minutes late, so I apologize. Come up, gentlemen. Welcome.
I know that Lynn and Bob appreciate learning new things every time they come.
Yes, we do.
How are you, sir?
Good morning. Good morning.
Lynn, how are you?
All right. Good morning.
How's things going?
Morning, back. I'll give this back over to you, $5 with you.
$5 a gallon or $5 to fill my 5 gallon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big difference. Let's see, did we get a report? Okay,
About to.
okay.
What he's here for, give it to us.
Okay, June, we sold 546.2 gallons of fuel. We got about 1,300 gallons left. We also leased 3 lots in June, 2 to Mr. Otto, lot 17 and 18, and 1 to Mr. Legree, lot 11.
See, he's squatting on it already.
What's the
I got
price of
Got your
those?
TP on
Pardon me?
What's the lease price of those?
On,
What is that, 9?
on autos, it's $312 a lot.
No.
No,
$312
A lot.
per year.
12, so be 11.
11.
And 11, that's 300.
Okay.
And the difference is one's 50 foot by 50 and the other's 52 by 50.
Okay.
Which means we've only got 2 lots left, 9 and 19. We've got 13, 14, and 15, but they're not buildable because they're so low.
Yeah,
If I could interrupt you. I spoke to the remember I took a month or so ago, I think I remember, I spoke to that gentleman who did a lot of grading on his property. He has a mound of dirt. And he said he'd be happy to donate that to the airport. So if you like, I could get whoever it is with this gentleman. Very nice man, he's building a house. Probably not enough for what you need, but it's
Start.
it's a lot of, it looks to me like a lot of dirt.
Great.
And that's within one of the 2 towns.
It's in West Cliff, it's on, I believe it's 4th Street, maybe, 4th Street, I believe it is.
Is that,
New
is
brick
that
house.
Coleman's?
The brick house.
Yeah, the one that did build the brick house right there. If you look, there's a tremendous, he's gonna keep a little bit, he needs to level off at one spot, and he said the rest of it he'd be happy doing it.
West of Sanchez.
Anyway, we've got, one hangar that's currently under contract. Mr. Legree is contracted to have this hangar built. And Mr. Otto, I've talked to him on a couple of occasions. Of course, he wanted me to put dirt on his property, and I told him he's talking to the wrong person. But anyway, he's contemplating between two 42 by 50s or an 80 by 40. And it seems like he changes his mind every day on which way he wants to go.
He has lots currently.
Currently, yes, he's got 17 and 18.
Oh, we talking about, okay.
It's the one we looked at before.
And we are currently laying out our new taxi lane, and where we're gonna put the new hangars and all that kind of good stuff. We had to put a couple of no parking signs over where where the gates are to go from Civil West Airport to Civil West Estates.
Oh, yeah.
Because somebody parked a big airplane in front of those gates.
In front of the gates?
And left it there for a week, and nobody knew
Who it was, huh?
how to get
Impound.
Well, we know who it was, because we just got the tail number. But anyway, we didn't know where he was,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, you need to probably put some stripes on the pavement.
we did. We put some stripes on the pavement, and we put some no parking signs up there, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. But it was a problem, because we've got one gentleman that has an airplane in Civil West Estates that uses a lot of fuel, Jim Van Busker.
Oh, yeah.
He flies that airplane a lot, and it uses 80 or 90 gallons every time he gets off the ground, so. Of course, we've got all the advertisement for our Fly Fest, our fly-in, coming up August 24th, and they're all over town. I hope everybody has seen them. We're also putting ads in both the local papers. And we got on order a fuel transfer pump, because I don't know if you've noticed it. If you've been to any of the airport board meetings, most of us have gray hair. And diesel fuel weighs 7.1 pounds per gallon. And right now, the only way we've got to get it into the tractor is hold it overhead to pour it in there,
Not
so.
acceptable.
Anyway, we ordered an electric pump to help us with
Guys
it.
are so spoiled.
I know, bunch of whiners.
Sorry.
Including you.
I know.
And right now, we've got a group of people out there that have been good friends to the airport for several years. They got those little powered parachute type things.
Oh, yeah, I saw their rig out there, pretty cool.
They were flying this morning.
Right, they generally fly only the first thing in the morning because of the winds. But anyway, they've been good friends for a long time, and they asked our permission to camp out there, and since it's in our rules and regs that you can camp, of course, we always tell them yes. So anyway,
I talked to both of them yesterday, they're pretty nice guys.
yeah, they're really good people, they really are, so. Anyway, that's what's going on at the airport. If anybody's got any questions.
Got a
I'd be
quick
happy
one, you brought up the fly-in, 24th.
Yes.
Brian Wood's wife, and I can't remember her name.
Dina.
Said that they're an organization that is wanting to team up with the airport fly-in. Would you give her a call, cause they wanna do something at the same time? You got her number already?
You've
been talking with them?
I've known them ever since I've been.
Yeah, but she caught me in Tony's Pizza yesterday, and because they've been going through a wedding, she hadn't had a chance to talk to anybody, and I gave her Brian Anderson's point of contact on that, and you, of course. So you might wanna call her and figure out what she's got planned.
I'll give it a call. Yes, sir.
I have 3 quick questions. What is the price of fuel now?
443.
Thank you.
Average in the area is 466. Of course, Paulsenberg is,
$3.62.
$1.75. Yeah,
we don't even look at them, so.
yeah. What's the status of the courtesy cars? Courtesy car?
Mr. LeGree.
Oh. The stuff I gave you last meeting, we had 2 hours that they could have the car. At our meeting, everybody kind of agreed to, you can't barely go to town and have something to eat in 2 hours. So we've upped it that to 4. And we're still trying to find somebody that knows about the insurance. We've heard about, the county, it's under an umbrella with the county's vehicles. We've heard, that some don't have it, that the leaser or renter, or whatever you wanna call them, it's covered with their insurance. Another, airport manager said he didn't have a clue if they were insured or not. So, we've heard of everything.
Gotta nail that down.
Yes, we're working on that.
Some of the insurance companies we talked to actually hung up on us.
Yeah.
It's not that aggressive yet.
Well, when they hear it's a county vehicle, driven wherever, they don't even wanna talk about it, so.
CTSI has informed us that they will not,
They're right.
we cannot cover them.
Do an umbrella over the.
Which was, the whole fly in the ointment from day one is
Right,
insurance.
right,
That's the big deal.
yeah.
So obviously you're running into the same boat.
Yes, so, but we are aware, I mean, we're not creating the wheel here, other counties have this, so it's just finding the right place to give us the right answer.
Ones that have it, you
So the
get
other
the
counties
name
can
of
give
the
you some
company
answers
that's
to how
covering
they
it.
do it.
Yeah, so,
And my last question is the crack cement where the fire truck broke it, is that under anything happening there?
No, not yet. We've still been trying to get Kit to come out, do the surveying, and I'd rather not torque him off
I understand.
until.
That reminds me too, that's what Dina had, the issue, they wanna get the fire truck out and do a PR deal on the same day as doing, the air show.
well, it definitely will
On
need looked
whose
at.
behalf, Bill, I think that kept it.
The district, the fire district, Dina.
She's involved with the fire
Yeah, she's
district.
involved, she and Brian. So they wanna do,
Well,
because they've got that station set up and another one they wanna have a coming out party or something, so it sounds like.
yeah. Well, the surveying thing and the concrete thing has nothing to do with each other.
Right, right.
I get where you're coming from, but that's a bunch of bull. If we need to have the surveying done, that has nothing to do with the fire district. If we need to get the concrete repaired in front of in front of your
Yeah.
base, then let's move forward with that. I don't care about
Okay.
the surveying, that's a
Alright.
paid deal.
We'll get it done.
So,
Alright.
if you need the commissioners to request the fire department take care of that problem, I believe we will do that. I'm not speaking for the commissioners,
You can speak for me,
but I
cause I feel the
certainly
same way. We
will
need
draft
to-
a letter.
Okay.
Letter of urgency.
So we've kinda taken the easy approach here and let things and nothing's happened, right?
Right.
And I'm certain the
Keep
more
talking.
that it's cracked and more vehicles roll over it, the worse it
Yeah,
gets.
every time they move it in and out.
It needs to get repaired.
And they do know about it.
Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah,
aware of it,
yeah.
sure they
Yeah,
are.
they are aware of it.
So if
So I
we
guess it's
need-
just take the next step,
It's
like
like we
we're
need to get a
saying.
little more forceful with it, I think we need to do that, I
Yeah.
agree with you completely.
Do you want me to send an email to the fire department requesting that they repair that as soon as
Yeah.
I
possible?
could bring my
preferably
backhoe over and dig it up. and
Before the end of
force it.
July? You guys
So-
know with that?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Request them to do
Sure,
it
just,
before the
we
end of
need
July.
that, we need it fixed before the end of July, so we got it ready for the flying.
right.
And they gotta get in and
How
out.
about work? We can always take just replacing that center section.
They'll cut it out,
They'll just
or
cut that.
they'll subcontract somebody to do it,
Right.
but yeah.
But
I'm
then
sure they
it'll
will.
be a thicker pad.
Probably more concrete, or more
Yeah.
rebar, is
More
my
reed
guess.
and.
They
more
might
road-
dig it
More
down.
road base under it too.
Okay.
Yeah, I
No
don't know
telling
how-
what they poured on there before.
I don't know how that was originally poured.
Could be a problem with compaction, could be a problem with
Yes.
subgrade,
Yeah,
might not be any rebar, who knows, but.
I just
You're
wondered.
right, there's probably no rebar in it.
I will,
Crap like
I'll
that.
draft an email and send to,
Who knows?
I don't know if it needs to go to the fire chief or the chairman of the board of directors.
Send it to the chief.
I sent it to the chairman of the board,
I would too. That's
just
where I
in
would.
case
Who is
the
the
chairman
chairman of the
doesn't
board?
know
Okay.
what's going on.
Yeah,
Just thinking though too, if they get heavy equipment to pull that pad out or bust it up or whatever happens, they don't break up
Right.
the other pieces.
We'll make sure they do it right.
yeah, or the taxiway,
Yeah, something out, yeah. That is,
jack that taxiway.
That is a taxi lane.
Oh, excuse me.
yeah. All right.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
I've got a couple things. Want to share with you a statement that we got in a letter from our auditor. I kind of asked what he thought would happen or should happen. He really didn't clarify that, but he reported that fuel sales and gross margins at the airport should be monitored on a continuous basis to ensure that all sales and costs are properly reflected. It's nice that we have the people that matter here. Thank you, Donna, for having to come in, stepping in right now. So I said, well, what do you want them to do? They report to us every month. And he said, well, we have to make sure that we have a very accurate inventory fuel, January 1, December 31. I'm assuming we do that, but there's something going on that he's not happy with, so we need to figure out what that is and
It would help if he would give us a little bit of specifics
direction.
on
Yeah, and we can follow
what
up
the
with Sam
problem
about that.
is.
But-
One thing that I heard along that same line is, I thought he said that he knows you're doing that we started, there was whenever they got formal, we started in arrears somehow, and you're carrying a negative balance or something in it, a couple $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll get
Well,
Sam, we'll get Sam to tell you
One-
exactly
one-
what he said.
I can tell you what part of the problem is one of our former chairman used to do the fuel, and he took the gross, what was said to be gross sales for the year and reported. What he didn't do was take into consideration 2 or 3 times a week, we go out and do a fuel check, and it shows up as a sale in the report.
So he had more sales than.
But that goes back into the recovery tank. So
So it wasn't a
what
sale.
he is reporting and what is reality aren't the same, because he never put that back, I do.
You heard that yesterday.
Right, and I know it was much improved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
was
said
gonna follow
he
up.
didn't have a
That-
beef.
That you were.
Clearly,
doing
they've said
much.
this is an improvement over what happened last year and prior to. So we're making progress, but I just thought, we don't want the airport on here at all.
That's fact.
We don't want them talking about the airport, other than, man, they're doing a great job. So that's the only reason I bring it up, is maybe we hook you up with Sam
Why don't
and
you
say, what do you
get on the phone
need from
with-
us, and I will make it
with
happen.
Sam.
That would be good.
That
If
But
we
he
could,
is
if we
changing
could
the
face
fuel
to face with him.
prices, you know,
Yeah.
where we've had to take a little longer, and that has helped a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, he was a little nervous about this
on
fluctuating
there,
fuel
but
price
it's
thing.
been much better, and you have stuffed the tank, because that had been an issue one year. I mean, there's just been, you know, quite a few little flukes, and this is the best it's been, I feel.
Yeah, he wasn't super critical. It was just, I thought you guys should know that it was flagged a little bit, so.
Like I said, I've been taking it out and reporting it as being returned to the tank, so
Right.
that what we're reporting in there and what sales
Right.
was closer.
Cause you're running it through the meter when you're pulling it out.
Yes, it's the only place we can.
You can't dip right out of the tank and
No.
check it. Okay. So would you, if it's appropriate, would you get with Don and get his name and phone number and call him and say, hey, they brought brought this up, we're happy to do whatever we need to do to clean up the books
Yeah.
for the county, for the airport. So, and then I wanted to ask you, did you see this new map with the survey pinpoints on it yesterday?
No,
Okay,
That's not the.
and now it must be going back to the drawing board because apparently we had some issues.
Right.
Based on the meetings I attended, I didn't think what you expected to have happen out there happened on that map, but I could be wrong.
Right.
You
I
looked
stopped
at it
over
with
there
John-
before I came here this
Okay.
morning.
Okay, so you've
I
seen
told her
it.
cause it looks like on the map, the row of new hangars is back to back with the existing
Right.
hangars.
Right.
And
And
that's
that's-
you can't do that.
And that's, we just can't have that, that's
Right.
all there is to it, so. I just thought, well,
everything's
whatever
moving.
happened to get to that map, from my perspective, was just a waste, because we didn't get what.
Right.
Somebody staked it, who staked it? It was you guys, right? Wasn't
Right.
Kit?
Right.
Jackie was under the impression Kit did it, and I said, no, I thought you guys. So anyway, that's easy to fix, you got it under control.
Yeah, I think.
Well, they're
We
gonna
just
you'll
need to
have to
get-
go back out
we
there
have
and
to-
resurvey it
We
all.
just
He
need
did
to
the
get
survey.
Jackie on board with what we're
He's
thinking,
good, yeah.
so that when Kit goes, he's on board with what we want, what needs
Right,
to
right,
happen.
right.
So,
What
Because,
you
Give
were
him his
expecting, you
sketch.
didn't get.
Tell him what you
Right.
want.
yeah,
but anyway, those hangars can't be back to back
Right.
because
We've got utilities.
utilities have to go in.
Yeah.
One, you know, propane tank.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
But you're on top of the map.
yes, yes, sir.
And then it becomes a blur after a while, but somebody in a meeting said, oh, and by the way, you got people living on your airport. I said, no, we don't. Yeah, there's people living in those hangars. I said, no, they're not. Said they may be living
May
in a
look like
private
it.
hangar across the road to the east, but I said, do not confuse that with county airport, because I can guarantee you nobody's living in those hangars.
Absolutely.
Absolutely nobody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't shooting my mouth off.
No,
Over at Silver West Estates, there are a lot of people that live in their hangar, their residences upstairs, and there's quite a number of those. But on the airport, there is nobody living in any hangar, guaranteed.
I assured them that was not happening.
No water, no sewer, that'd be tough to do.
Well,
Plus,
they do it all the time in this county. Believe me, it's not
And,
that hard.
and there may be
Right.
times they see lights on in those hangars, that's cause these die-hard mechanics will stay there all night playing with them.
So anyway, just wanted to run that by you, and,
Okay.
There
Yeah,
is
no,
nobody living there, no.
and I just think there's some value in even knowing that people think that, so that you can.
Well, you know, I get calls a lot from people who wanna talk about leasing property at Silver West Estates. And I keep telling them this is not Silver West Estates. So there is some confusion on which is which.
Get your realtor's license and you have it.
Yeah, go in and have a little side business. You might talk with Gary Hyde too at some point and see if they ever are down in that area and have a bunch of unwanted fill to start on, what was it,
We did.
13, 14, 15?
I think there's been what?
Already, let me pick it up there, cause I'm gonna bring this up. I did take Gary down there and we did drive around and we showed him where the fill goes. And on top of that, Bob McDonald claims he's got this grader, magic grader, that you can rough a road in if you wanted to. But, I noticed, what we need, and Gary said he can do it, make a sign that says filled, you know, point some arrows for you to direct them where you want it to be, and change it as you need to. And I noticed, as you turn into the airport, on Airport Road, and you start going east on the right side, you'll see two posts, look like an old gate was there before,
Going east.
going from the highway east, before you get to the turn to go into the airport. Take a look there, look at a good spot, so that they're not coming in and we're not handing out a gate code all the time. Cause you miss people with dirt that knows there's free dirt out there and they won't have a code. So, you guys can work up, with Gary with where the signs you go, where to put a gate. He said put a color.
Okay.
Okay, all right, anything else, gentlemen?
Nope.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I heard you talking about insurance. I have a quote,
Really, was it
last
a
time
little
you guys
dicey
had courtesy car insurance.
historically?
It says, you know,
numbers would help you.
Absolutely.
Next item of
Because I
business
want it
is a
back,
treasurer's
but
report. We're gonna
anything
move
you-
on. If you guys wanna move to the hallway, it'd be great. Ma'am?
Heck outta here.
She may have
I'm
left.
getting booted out of
Sorry,
here.
yeah,
No.
well. By consent, we'll be in. Just wait and deal with her real quick. They just called. We're good. We will deal with, treasurer's report, then we'll take a 3 or 4 minute break. I saw that look. Good morning. How are you? I know this is your second trip,
That's okay, Meredith thought it was almost done.
Okay.
We just saw this.
Hopefully this is different though, right?
What's that?
Say, hopefully it's different though.
Yeah, it's a little different, yeah.
Bring it to our attention.
Yep.
Straightforward.
Yeah, it's all just straightforward.
I move we accept the treasurer's report as presented for June 1st through June 30th, 2019.
We move to second to approve treasurer's report, discussion. I know Sam shared with us a few things yesterday, most of it kinda, was a little glazed over by the time we got to the end of it, but,
About.
well, he had just mentioned that we had the 4 funds that were kinda grouped together because they didn't meet the thresholds of having their own budget line, basically.
Which ones were they?
Those were, the airport
And the
did get their
airport
own line. 'Cause
This
they-
year, because they magically crossed the dollar sign to the
I think that was
money
on
we could get
page
from BOCC, basically.
32.
Their budget.
CTF, tourism.
Tourism, these small funds are grouped together under the general fund. He said something might think about it. We asked him what's the advantage of having it being its own fund. And he said there is no advantage.
Airport is their own thing.
Yeah, I know.
See, and I
tourism
thought they
is their
were,
own
but then the way he talked about it, he said, well, and maybe he's talking a little different deal, that they move into a different category.
I
as
think it's
far
how
as
he
your
is.
single audit.
Yeah, that's
goes.
right, it's how you audited it and
Right,
whether it
right.
showed up
Yeah,
as a
those
separate.
are all single,
Single
they're all-
audit, yeah.
Yeah, they already are.
So, I don't know, we looked at so much stuff yesterday.
I don't think there was any issue.
Yeah, I have no control over what they get in their budgets.
Right, okay.
We just receive it.
So the airport is, they have their
Yes,
own
they do.
audit. There was tourism, CTF.
Conservation Trust is, we have it separate. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, the contingency fund was one.
Yeah, and see, these are all.
Right, yeah, so, I didn't get it that out of that conversation with them, we needed to change anything. I just wanted to mention that airport, for their single audit thing went out. Further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. For June 2019's been approved, I guess.
I just wanted to mention that you can get money from sale and land and material, and that's split out 3 ways. It's split out road and bridge, to the 2 schools, RE2J and, C1 according to student, count. You get 23 cents
Sale of land
and material.
and material from the county,
No,
from,
Get 23 cents. That was a big old.
so then we're in pretty good shape.
Did they mail it? Did they waste the money sending it in a stamp?
Yeah, but I wanted to tell you, and I don't know, we have a report we have to send to them, and we didn't split it out, because what you have to do is 25 to the school and 75 to the bridge. And then when you give the 25 to the school, you have to do per student count.
Right,
And
we split that.
RE2J is 1.98 or something like that. It's almost impossible to split that out, so right now we took it all to Road and Bridge, it'll 23 cents, and we'll see if I get brief from the state about it.
That was an interesting thing that he did bring up, was we got a couple things that the state never has
done before.
Right.
One dates back to 2002, I think, or one, something like that. A few $1,000 that they should have gotten back on a grant for the hospital, or for the HR guy, or Laura Lockhart stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's another one more recently now for a couple thousand. We just keep carrying them apparently until they hammer us for it. Let's give it back.
They've done a report and we're reimbursing the state twice, and the state's never asked for that money back yet.
This is my PT report. You guys.
Physical therapy report.
It's your own fund report.
There's my own fund report.
You just did that, has it been, I guess it's been,
Third, second report, isn't it? 6
Let's
months.
go and see what time it's at.
And I guess while you were here, you were at this, gentlemen,
Mhm.
we're getting ready to, I think, to act on a land transaction this morning. And that, we've got that all lined out. That money is earmarked for going into the Justice Center Fund.
Do you know how Danny got it?
That's why I'm looking
How
at
what?
how
How
we got that
we
land.
received
Was
it.
it on a warranty deed or a transfer?
We're giving it by a deed.
County.
But
It's
how we
equivalent
got
to
it.
what we
received
got.
it in the
How we
beginning.
received it.
It was, failure to pay
Delinquent.
taxes and nobody
Okay.
came in and bought it.
You, is that a tax lien? That's what you're saying.
There was not a tax lien. Well, there was a tax lien, but nobody else ever came in and bid on the property, so it just defaulted to the county many, many years ago.
And we sold them.
Or we're going to.
That was over, yeah.
Well, statute says if it has anything to do with that kind of sale, and I'm not gonna know if it's a sale, that it has to be split between the
Right,
entities.
and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, you know, JD says it was never a sale. I mean, it's just, according to what he knows about it, it was just, it became the county's property because nobody else ever did anything on it. Nobody,
Defaulted.
yeah, it just
It's a
defaulted.
deed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Work with me here.
That's what my statute says.
I know.
If it's in a, if
That's why I
it's
brought
from
it
a
up, 'cause
tax
I knew
lien
you had
sale,
some.
you have to.
But it did
It
not
wasn't a
go
tax
through a
lien
tax
sale.
lien sale.
No, it didn't, cause that was what I asked. I thought maybe there was a treasurer's deed and there never was.
So we're gonna do a warranty deed on it, correct?
We're doing it.
No.
quick
Or
claim
on
deed.
quick claim.
We're just saying.
They
County-
didn't need a
county
warranty
deed.
deed.
No, she's sitting out there right now.
Yeah, so, you're okay?
I had no say.
All right,
You
good.
guys are
As
the
long as
bosses.
you don't have a say, then you're okay. All right, anything else, ma'am?
No, that's it.
Cause I didn't wanna do this morning and have you come back and say, gentlemen, you need to,
can't
you
do
just,
that.
you need
Broke
to.
the law.
And I disavow any knowledge of this.
Yeah, yeah, and our attorney is, claiming the fifth. Thank you, ma'am, appreciate
We
it.
can have 18 minutes of a recording disappear.
Yeah.
20-minute break.
By consent, we'll take a 3-minute break. Big old conversation with public health back there. Our next item of business is the extension. Oh, no. Public health report. Good morning. How are you?
How's the new digs?
Awesome.
Oh, they're
So nice.
wonderful. And the food was great. Let's do it
It's
again.
a long
I wish I
commute
could've
from
been
there to
there.
get down to here for
Yeah.
this meeting.
Yeah, I know.
Did you save any?
No, because then I took it to the Saddle Club meeting. I don't have a whole lot of new stuff other than we've moved, we're settled in, we're doing business. I gave shots this morning. Everything's going great. Yeah. So, kind of business as usual, really. I have a new EPR coordinator, Miss Cindy Flower. Her first day was yesterday, and she.
Nepotism.
No, it's not nepotism. We already looked into that.
What does EPR coordinator mean?
Emergency preparedness and response. So that's super exciting for me. Hopefully for
How's
her
that
too.
position funded?
Through grants, and I budgeted it in this grant cycle. So
You talk about Miss Flowers' position.
Tell me about the child fatality team. Are you gonna have to have a meeting on that
Mhm.
at some point?
we will. So I'm waiting at this point to get the death certificate and the official cause of death, and then we'll proceed from there.
Okay, 'cause I'm on that team.
Okay.
So I've gotta be involved in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as soon as I get that information, I'll put it out because Shannon and a few other folks will be too. So put that all together.
All right.
The time comes for that. So that jail nursing is going really well, I think. I texted Shannon a little bit ago. I haven't heard back from him, but I know it's on the agenda for later.
Do you wanna
But
deal with it later, or you wanna deal with it now?
I'd rather just deal with it now if that's okay, because
I'm fine with
I'd
the
rather
change
not.
in the agenda.
Okay.
um,
Nobody else needs to be here for that.
I don't
Shannon
think
wasn't
so. I
expecting to
texted
be.
him and he said, I haven't got anything back from him. So.
Okay.
I am slotted for 8 hours a week to be over there. I've been over there 8 hours a month the last 2 months. So, which I think is still perfectly fine. They call me when they need me. They email me if there's a new inmate. I just went there this morning. I check in at least once a week for like at least a half an hour, make sure everybody has enough meds to get through the week. I think it's going pretty well. But I don't.
Remind me, do you get paid by the hour for
Mhm.
that? Okay, so the expense to the sheriff is less than he anticipated?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, quite a bit less because
Sure.
I'm not doing 8 hours a week, and I don't feel. I'm not going to just go sit over there and twiddle my thumbs for 8 hours a week if I don't need to.
Appreciate that.
So, I go when I'm needed and keep my nose out of it when I'm not.
Got it. Good.
So, and sometimes I spend 12 hours in 1 week, but then I'm not there like the rest of the month unless they call me. So, yeah. So it's been pretty good, I think. There is some issue with mental health, getting mental health care there. However, I did get an email yesterday from Solvista saying that they would be more helpful going forward. So we'll see what that looks like, but hopefully that's true.
great.
The other thing I'm working on with the jail is getting like mail service meds so that our deputies don't have to go to Foxrite and Florence and pick it up, and that's a kind of nightmare. So hopefully within the next month we'll get that program figured out. So it's cheaper. It's just a little bit more work on my part, which is totally fine. I just have to make sure ahead of time that we're not going to run out, so we have time to come in.
Will you have a presence at the Bluegrass Festival?
We will, as far as back to public health. Public health is gonna have our rock and rest station there, which is, it's like a tent that's got at least 3 sides. I think we can have even 4 sides on it for breastfeeding and for like moms and toddlers who need to just have a break to go sit down in the shade, and like cold water there. And so that's part of our breastfeeding initiative, and then we'll just be ready.
Can inmates have narcotic drugs if it's prescribed?
They can. It has to be crushed,
No,
and they
okay.
have to take it right in front of us and do a finger sweep and show us that they've swallowed it, so they can't cheek it and sell it to their buddy. But yeah,
All right.
they can. Any
So
questions?
sports physicals,
Okay.
free gratis,
Mm-hmm.
you don't pay for those.
Correct. We have volunteers that come in and do those, mostly, you know, even the physicians and everybody, they're all volunteer. So they come in and do them for a day, 3 days actually, like 2 more days coming up and.
So you have 3 set days. Sweet. So your new facilities, most of that remodel was paid for out of your funds? All of it,
All
Sun
of it.
County, or was all that
I know we
transferred
had
to?
5,000 like earmarked
Earmarked.
for it, but I mean we have a lot of MRC maternal child health funds that have not been used for several years. We went through that somewhat a little bit before these guys came in, but and I got permission to use it for the remodel, and I think we just use it. I don't think we take any money out of the general fund for it because it's.
Use it or lose it.
I don't think
Well,
we'll lose it,
we
but
lose
we
it,
might as
but-
well use it.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what
Cause it's been,
Exactly.
it
What
rolled
do
Yeah.
you do with it, right?
yeah, so this was a great opportunity to spend down some of that, and I think, I mean, we're about done spending, we are done spending, I think, we're
Yeah, I think we've expended all
Set.
we're going to.
yeah,
How much did you pay the janitor?
he worked free gratis.
Yeah.
I was just gonna comment on that. There were a lot of people who donated a lot of time and effort to that. Saved this county a
Saved a
ton of
bunch.
money. The lead on that was Commissioner
Well,
Flower
and-
and you and painters, and I mean, that was a really great thing, because if it was me, I would've hired someone to do it, seriously, because
Yeah.
I would've.
Yeah,
So you saved the county a lot of money. I appreciate
Well,
all
and-
the people involved.
I helped a little, I'll tell you who did all the work. Most of it was volunteer, off the clock.
It was old.
I know that.
Alyssa moved all that furniture over there, 90% of that furniture over there by herself. Husband helped her with some of the bigger stuff, but, she certainly did a great job over it. Looks good, got a great feel to it, everybody seems happy.
yeah, it's a good
Okay.
spot.
Good, well, don't run off, but anything else? Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am.
Nope.
Appreciate it, yeah, stick around for a few minutes. And gentlemen, with your permission, I spoke with JD this morning, and I'd like to just take a few minutes in the middle of our meeting here before we move on to human resource and finance to give recognition and a little time to our old buddy Charlie. Today is his last day, and so we just wanted to have you come in and
Tell you
say
thanks.
thank you, congratulate you on 25 years, and I asked JD if he wanted to say something.
I'd
He
just like
certainly
to
could.
say that, yeah, it's been not quite 25 years, but darn close. Pretty close. Yeah, and Charlie's been a great asset for the county, he's been a good friend. I'm very confident in the gentleman that's replacing him, but I'm gonna miss his knowledge of the county, his institutional knowledge, you know, being able to go, oh, didn't that question come up 5 years ago, and what did we do with that? Gonna miss that, but just wanted to say thanks for your service and wish you well in whatever you do in this next phase of your life, so thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Good job, buddy.
You gonna have an unlisted number, or can we call you?
You can call me. Chris has got my number, and he claims he's gonna have to call me, but he's a great fella, and he's not gonna have any troubles at all, so.
Yeah. Hold on just a second.
Sure.
Trying to get your attention. I
Yes,
know
sir.
you're involved in reading something. I would ask that the 3 commissioners, JD and Charlie, stand up here. We'll move that chair. Maybe we can have a picture. Is that all right?
I wouldn't have worn my party shirt for him if I'd have known I was
Well,
doing
yeah.
a picture taking.
You know,
Yeah, you wore the party shirt.
I did.
You're not gonna use this for a mug
So
shot.
we're gonna try to use it for something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, stand right here, Charlie.
You're the future.
Well, okay, I guess it's good that I have my fishing vest on since I'm retired.
Well, that's right. That's appropriate.
Tighten up. Wide angle.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
If I'm in it, it's gonna be bad.
Stop it.
How many years have it been? And that's what.
Almost
Well,
25.
yeah.
February would be
That-
25, I think.
Yeah, it's a fun, I'll tell you
You're
a
right.
funny story about
That's
it.
the paper talking.
When I started, I don't know if you remember this, Dave, but I started on the, and this surprised me. I hope I'm not taking up.
No, no.
But I got a little story about when I started. I started actually on the 25th of January in 1995.
Yep.
And I came in 2 days later, and it was, at that time, it was JD and Mike Finney and Bonnie
Hartley.
Hartley
Pat
and
Gibson.
Pat Gibson.
Yeah.
And JD comes to me 2 days later and said, we need you to come up into the office. And they gave me this shirt, this t-shirt. Do you remember this?
No.
It was a sweatshirt, and it was a birthday. But my birthday was 2 days after I started, and I
yeah,
was
remember.
completely shocked that I had taken a job in a place where 2 days after you started, they threw you a birthday party.
Yeah, we got him a West of Colorado shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to remind.
Yeah, and
Cause he had just moved here.
it just startled me, and it's been a pleasure ever since. I mean, I have enjoyed. I tell people, everybody's saying, "Oh, you got to be happy to retire," and I tell people, you know, when you have the career that I had and you enjoy going to work, it's a little different. It's not all. If I hated coming to work every day, I'd be jumping up and down. I'm kind of.
You haven't been marking days off the calendar, have
Well,
you?
no. I got this little thing from Linda Elliott that says how many days and hours and minutes to retirement, and I said it, but I never even looked at it. So
Yeah.
I've kind of been dreading this day, but JD and Chris and everybody has been great. It's a happy day, and it's got a little tinge of sorrow, but it's a joyful, happy day. And I want to thank everybody.
We're gonna miss seeing you.
And thank you for coming.
I'm going to be around.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I just.
I won't not pester you anymore.
Okay.
It'll be different.
I wanted to say, you know, personally that, you've been a friend to me, you were a huge mentor to me with your time on the school board, and, you never separated out that after you left the school board, you continued to serve in that role for me. I appreciate it. I know you've been a dedicated and a good employee to this county for a lot of years.
I appreciate it.
There's cake.
Yeah,
You
they're
guys wanna
having-
get cake later.
They're having a little cake and I don't know what all in their celebration for you, and know that we're in there with spirit, and as soon as we can, we'll try to come in there.
I'm in there with an
Thank you,
appetite.
Charlie. We
Thank you guys so much.
appreciate it.
Everybody, thanks everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Donna, thank you for your patience. I knew they were getting ready to go in there and,
I jumped ahead of Donna because I
Are you
was
part of
told-
HR now?
I was told that this was going on.
what was going on?
For Charlie?
For Charlie?
No. Beckwith.
Beckwith.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so I don't know. You expect us to read this today?
No.
Okay.
He's just giving it to us 'cause we talked.
All right, yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning,
How are you?
good, how about you?
Good.
Hey, Donna.
Probably the only person in this room that has photographic evidence that there was smoke in the air.
Keep your eyes peeled.
That's right, oh my gosh. It's
Well,
been a
actually,
morning.
it was keep your speed down as you go because there'll be a lot of presence there.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about either one of those, or were they
The
one
one
and the
in
same?
96 that it's out, and it was just one, and it is out.
Lightning
All right.
strike.
So there was a lightning strike and a little bit of smoke in the air over.
A little bit of
Night.
excitement on that one. It never happens that I could actually print this out and hand it to y'all of the handwrittens. I mean, it never,
Yeah.
ever. So, that one time on.
Write this down.
So I know. Yeah, that's what I told them, say, where's that little sheet? Well, it's not available, 99.9% of the time.
I don't see my name on here.
Oh, I know, darn, you just missed the cutoff.
There must be a reason we do 2 Black Hills Energy instead of 1 check.
Road and Bridge and.
Oh, 2 different accounts,
Mhm.
yeah. We can't just go up and all together and write them 1 check.
No, because if we could get down to Road and Bridges, I'd be.
because it's a dedicated fund. Okay, anything else?
Just a couple, no, my stuff is just done as it goes. I don't really have a, if it's a report kind of thing, y'all are the first to know, and it's never good.
Hey Clint, it is the hospital district.
Thanks.
I have a few vouchers.
Okay,
Kind of stuff in there.
and then while we're doing this, we can, we are scheduled, I'm looking for our interview date, the 16th, is that correct?
Yes.
To interview 4 candidates for the OEM director position. Thank you for your work on that, contacting those people and getting that all scheduled up. And gentlemen, I'm sure you've seen that, 1 o'clock start time.
I also saw the email that I appreciate sending out to
1 o'clock, I don't want
other elected.
Well, originally we talked about morning, but that's been changed to afternoon.
Send out the email to the stakeholders for their questions.
Yes, thank you for doing that as well.
And,
It is the 16th.
Yes.
and Christy Coleman, she sent answers, which she sent to all of us, but I liked it because, never ask a question you don't know the answer to. There wasn't a single one of those questions that I would have known the answer to, so it was really nice that she did give me an answer. So I thought, nope, I know nothing of this.
Good.
So that was.
Yeah. I'm certainly not bragging. Ours was unfortunately one of the first positions to come open, and subsequent to that, there's been 2 other OEM positions open in the state. So.
No, that's.
Yeah, Chaffey County's position came open last week, so they're looking for an OEM officer as well, a manager in, Fremont County, Green? Grand, thank you. Off Sulphur Springs, yeah.
Well, and Fremont was just between our.
Do you know who their OEM is down there in Fremont County?
Michael Curl.
He took over after old Red, Jill, Fireball, yeah. So anyhow, we had 7 applicants, condensed that down to 4. We're gonna interview those on the 16th. We've invited Christy Coleman, the regional OEM manager, to sit in on that as well as yourself. So it'll be 5 others. And have requested questions to be submitted from 4 other entities.
1, 2, yes.
4. Okay, good.
And Christy is gonna pick up a packet. I have made
Nice.
her a packet, so
Okay.
she could be at the same spot that you guys
Good.
are.
Good.
Good. Anything else?
No, that's,
Okay. I'm just gonna ask a quick question. The install on the carpet, that did not include the cost of the carpet, is that correct?
and,
Install was separate than the price?
yes, and that was the,
Yeah, Norman Gonzalez.
yes. And that was a hand.
Okay, yeah. I just didn't know if that included the carpet or not. I didn't think it did.
Do you know, it came on the same bill, but there, Jeff Holmberg had written instructions that would be paid for with someone else.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, ma'am, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Should I reverse it?
Reverse it.
Yeah, there we go, see?
Yeah.
That makes
Oh, you need total reverse.
Save the
She
best
did
for
it that way
last.
late, last.
Yeah, I believe that. See you, thank you.
Bye.
All right.
So, remember last month, Gwen asked if she could do a written report to you guys,
Yes.
so I sent that
Okay.
to you.
Get that up. So extension is our next, agenda item, staff report. She had forwarded a report.
It was in our packet.
Yes. Yep, so we did have the weed tour. She was very involved in that. Just did a great job, and
You did it without the books.
did it without the books. She doesn't know I finally received those books, but there's a quick rundown on the fair entries. 15 market beef, 3 breeding beef, 26 swine, 28 sheep, 3 goats, 3 rabbits, 3 market rabbits, 3 breeding rabbits, 1 companion rabbit, 2 poultry, and 1 dog,
Sounds like Christmas.
and 6 horse. Yeah, and then of course those are the outdoor projects, indoor projects. 22 shooting sports, 4 scrapbook, 1 heritage arts, 1 sketchbook, 3 photography, 1 small engine, 1 robotics, and 2 model rocketry projects.
Pretty good.
We have 38 animals nominated for state fair, so we'll see if all of those go or not. But, and I know they're getting a lot of traction and momentum for the pending fair. The livestock weigh-in is on Wednesday the 17th. I think the indoor project's checking on Monday. I can't swear to that, but I've always, of course, being involved in the outdoor livestock projects, always kind of started the fair in my mind with the weigh-in, and I get yelled at that because it starts, actually probably starts next week with shooting sports. They do their competitive stuff way ahead of time. So I think that's kind of the highlights of her report. Gentlemen, if anything else you want to bring up, some questions, comments?
I don't mean to put you on the spot,
No.
but do you remember the fair dates
I do.
this year? What are they?
Well, again, depends on what you mean by fair dates, but the Wednesday is the 17th and they run through the 21st. The livestock sales, the 21st. There's a meal ahead of time, starts at 10:30, and then the sale starts at noon.
They'll be out there with their stuff a couple minutes before.
Yeah, the indoor projects and stuff. I think they actually open the indoor project exhibit on Monday. But fair book's online this year, so trying to get away from that whole paper thing. Plus, it's very awkward once that book is printed. If something comes up, obviously it's tough to make a change, and online they can go in and change that real quick and highlight it in red. And so the community as well as exhibitors can stay in touch a little more with that. But yeah, so hopefully everything's moving forward with that. There's been some improvements out there at the fairgrounds. They are getting ready. I was out there yesterday and looked. They have not poured the concrete yet, but they're getting ready to pour the entire concrete floor in what we always have known as the sheep barn. And so that's going to be a concrete floor. Eventually probably become an indoor project facility, but we'll see. We're also involved, excuse me sir, I'll get right to you. We're also involved with the University of Colorado at Denver with that strategic plan. Those folks have submitted 4 different renderings of what maybe a county-wide facility would look like out there. So I think they're going to be here for the fair and have a little booth and share those drawings and try to get some idea about that. So good morning, sir. So anyway, other questions about her report? Be glad to have. Yes.
Actually, it's just information about fair.
Okay.
Has the water debt been paid off in full?
No, but I did receive their installment yesterday and gave that to Virginia. And actually, let me pull it here because I just found out somebody must put this in my box. There's the that's the recent check, and I think that's the accounting. So no, it has not.
And
That was on a 3-year.
yeah, I didn't remember how long.
Yeah.
And we are segregating the water from Road and Bridge now.
No.
No.
Until somebody, i.e. the county, most likely,
Buys a meter.
$3,000 for a meter.
I just pay it. Unless they have a major spill,
Yeah.
it's insignificant.
Yeah.
It would take 20 years. to pay for
Minuscule
it.
amount of
Let's
water.
just pay it and not worry about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, the water, I mean, this, and for the public's knowledge, this is, we're talking about a significant water bill that was incurred by the Saddle Club when they sustained a major leak. Nobody knew that. It ran within the trenches for an unknown amount of time. And so we, the county, made an agreement with the Saddle Club that they would pay that back on installments over a 3-year period of time. And so they have been religiously making those payments, so that's nice.
And we paid round up.
Yes, the bill has been paid. We paid them. Thank you for that, yeah. And of course, this time of year, I'm involved with the Saddle Club to some degree. Their funds are running low because the rodeo is their main revenue generator, and I happen to know this came out of George's personal account, so he'll get reimbursed for that. But he's writing it out of his personal account so that we stay on schedule. Rather than wait another 2 or 3 weeks and write us a check, he said no.
I don't think he needs to do that. We would run with it. The Santa Club, we're gonna miss this month and next month because of the fair, and we'll pick it up after that. I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I just appreciate the fact that he is trying
Making an
his
effort.
best to stay on task.
I think he's
And,
terrific, but probably unnecessary.
Yeah,
But I
okay.
appreciate that effort.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments about staff reports before we move on? We'll move to unfinished business. I have none. Gentlemen?
I just have one quick thing to say, cause Donna said that we have never insured those ambulances. We don't own the ambulances, so that language that, you know, we still own them, ensure that it doesn't happen.
Well, just because we haven't done it doesn't mean that it's not a legal technicality though, does it?
No,
I mean,
that's.
that was another question for me. Who owns those ambulances?
Well, apparently they do, we don't own them. So I
Because
guess we.
certainly we wouldn't have the same ambulances we did 30 years ago.
No, so we don't, and the other JD checked, and the land, the barn belongs to the hospital district.
Yeah, I'm gonna take exception to that, but I will continue to research. I don't know how it can. I'm
Well-
almost certain they use RETAC money to pay for it. but-
Well, if it, to pay for the land or to
No,
pay
the
for
building.
the building, well, you know, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either.
That's a
I'm not
separate issue,
arguing
but
with
it's
you, just.
if you build a structure on the land, it becomes a fixture on the land, becomes part of it.
Airport being an exception then.
Airport.
The airport doesn't own those hangars.
Actually,
they're on airport
all
land.
they are is leased. That's a good question.
Well, the airport land belongs to the county.
Yeah, but not the hangars.
Rodeo grounds?
Right.
Hangars are leased.
You said if
No, the
the,
hangars belong to they don't,
Right.
people don't buy them, they lease them.
oh,
They do, they actually
know.
build them and you got a 99.
Yeah, but it's,
But the
Linda Green
hangar would,
is building a hangar.
yeah, but when his lease runs out, that hangar doesn't get off the property. It stays and becomes part of the property that they lease to somebody else if he
That's part of
moves
the
out.
agreement, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's different.
that's different than,
Different than this.
Now, I would
You
agree
lease
that,
it to them or anything like that.
that's right.
I would agree that the clinic probably owns the land. You're maintaining that they probably own that building.
if, unless there was something, there are some occasions where JD has it separate, where the building belongs to somebody else by agreement, but if there's not any agreement to the contrary, then once it was put on that land, it became part of the land. You know, it's a
Part of the
fixture.
improvement on it.
An improvement, I mean, a permanent improvement, not something that can be easily removed, like putting a trailer there that can be
Right.
pulled off again.
Yes, ma'am.
If it was built though by with RETAC funds, then RETAC still has the right to say who it can go to. They
I-
still,
Unless
They
there's
would have
something
to
in
have it
writing to
deeded.
that effect.
Yeah.
And if
Well,
it wasn't deeded, it was
again,
deeded here.
Well, that's, I guess, a whole separate, but JD said, as far as ownership, according to his records,
Right.
it's the hospital district.
And he would have a record of that based on the tax base or whether.
I think even the actual deed at the time, if it was a Higgins, they deeded it over.
If that building is deeded to the clinic, then,
You can find a
okay,
deed on it,
but,
can't you?
Well, if the land is deeded to the clinic, it's the ownership of the land that's key, you know, whatever is put on it afterwards just becomes part of the land. Permanent structure.
See who owns it on the deed.
Unless there's a agreement contrary.
If some, yeah, cause JD does have a few where they somehow separated out ownership of structure from the land, but that's a very specific written agreement that he's got.
If I may, I'll just an example, town of West Cliff and the Masons jointly owned the building that Westcliff Town Hall was on. The record's very clear that Westcliff owned the land, but we had multiple instances to show that the Masons were a part owner of that property. So Westcliff just went ahead and assumed that they owned half of it and we worked it out.
Who's chairman of the Southern Colorado RETAC?
Brandon,
Yeah, I don't know. I truly don't know. I just have questions about
Well,
that.
we'll
The
look
only way to
into it
do that
further.
is look into it and research it, so. Okay, new business. We will move on then. We'll have public comment if it's an action item, and I will certainly do my best to bring that up. So, first item on the business is consideration of a resolution and a deed for selling some county land. Good morning, ma'am. How are you? Good to see you. Nice to have you here.
Still, after she's been here for 3 hours.
Only one.
Yeah. So we are considering, this is Helen Burton, considering this morning of entering into a contract to sell you some lots that we have gone over, Lot 2A, Block 3, Lot 24, Block 3, and Lot 8, Block 5. And some of those were lot line vacates, so it comes to a total of 10 lots? 11 lots, that's right.
Tell me those lot numbers again.
Those would
2A
be
block
2A Block 3,
Okay. got it.
24 Block 3, and Lot 8 Block 5.
In the Golden Arrow Valley subdivision.
In the Golden Arrow Valley subdivision, yes. Thank you, sir, appreciate that. So,
I have a question about the roads that are only on paper.
okay,
And I understand that it's the commissioners only that can merge some of these properties. Got a map for you.
no, good, okay, thanks. Thank you.
This one has a squiggled out line that doesn't belong
So ignore the squiggle.
So,
there. Ignore the squiggle.
everything highlighted in purple there is
Everything in
gonna
purple
be,
is what
would become your.
would become ours when you take this
Okay.
check.
Okay,
The check marks are those that I was trying to get and have not been able to
got you.
for various reasons.
So we may see you again someday in the future, or who
Yes.
knows, okay?
And the X
The ones
means-
with X's are the ones
We're
that
talking about today.
we're talking about today.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright,
So between, you see where the 2A is, and the road underneath it, and the property underneath that, I would like to have the road there be merged all into one property.
So change the road, Diane Lane and Cora Lane.
I don't know.
The lane to the
lanes.
south of the gray property, here,
I got it here.
okay. If I'm
It
reading
would be
that right.
Cora Lane that merges,
Yeah.
between here to here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by merge, you wanna put it together with
I
another
don't
She
know.
wants to
road?
abandon the right of way,
Vacate,
Oh, okay.
vacate the right of way.
You wanna vacate that road.
whatever wording the county wants to use.
Okay, what do you wanna do, get rid of the road? You don't want
I
it in
would,
there, or what are you
I'd like
asking?
to have it all as one property without a road going through
Okay,
the middle of my.
all right, yeah.
Well,
property.
it is
vacate.
all your property, but if there's a right of way across, I mean, it will be once we
Right.
finish this conveyance,
So-
but it'll have a right of way across it.
I hate to.
Yeah, you own
So
all
Attorney
that, right?
Smith, if there are other properties out here that this road could eventually, I know it doesn't now because it's on paper, but if this is right of way or an access to other properties, then I think we would probably have an issue trying to.
This is Bull Domingo here, right?
This is Bull Domingo, so is this one. These are both about 35 acres. This one has a road that comes in here and goes back into here. And this one, the road is down here and then goes into there.
So nobody's using either of those driveways into there to get into Bolton.
To go beyond here, no one would be using those.
Is anybody today?
Which
Is anybody using it today?
no,
Are
that
there-
road
They're
didn't
just on
even exist.
paper.
It's just on paper, right? Okay.
This is a whole separate issue, so I'd like to wait and deal with this later, unless you think this is gonna be a fly in the ointment for the purchase of your property, which there was never anything said about any roads.
Okay.
Because you're gonna probably have to go through Jackie and planning and zoning, you're gonna have to contact all the adjacent landowners.
I talked to Jackie, she says talk to you.
Okay, you did, and I'm saying we probably have to, talk to
I
Jackie.
talked to the assessor's office and she said talk to the commissioners.
Okay. Okay. I'm not prepared to vote on the road thing today unless I know who the adjoining landowners are and what the long-term unintended consequence would be of us abandoning it.
Yeah, that would be a separate issue.
Okay.
It
You
is
have
a
to give
separate,
notice
and you
and
do
everything.
own the land.
Well,
That's a fact.
no, it's not a fact.
When she
There's
buys
a
it, when
right
you
of
write the
way.
check,
Yeah, then,
technically,
yes,
you would own.
not all of it, see.
That's right.
She's talking about vacating the
She
portion
wants
here,
that and this down here.
but
You should be buying with that easement across it, you'd like that not to be.
you just like to
That-
vacate that
And that
easement.
easement's
Yeah.
a separate issue.
And all the lines of the various properties would be nice to get rid of.
Vacate those.
I can, tax-wise, JD can just make it one big tax
Right.
bill.
Vacate lot lines, which again, talk to Jackie about that, and eventually that would come back to the commissioners, I believe. And we would vote to vacate those lot lines
And
for
they'd
you.
come up with a new legal description for the complete piece.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll talk to JD about
Actually,
it.
the road goes through you guys, road vacation
Okay.
goes through you guys.
Right, but
The lot
The lot lines
vacation,
through-
Well,
With a
it normally
recommendation,
comes
yeah.
to us with a recommendation from planning and zoning,
oh, not on a road.
not on a road.
They can come straight to.
Someone needs to investigate what potential properties this road would, traverse that may at some point wanna use it. I mean, I'm not
Right,
gonna
that's
landlock
where
any
I'm-
properties. I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah,
just
that's a
not
good
gonna make any
question,
sense.
because Clint, if that's the case, then there has to be an announcement where you're gonna vacate that, and some public hearing that give people an opportunity to say.
Yeah, and that's down the road, but like she said, and I'm familiar with the area, they do butt up against Bull Domingo, and there aren't any roads that come in there on the other side. Those
Give them a
property
waiver.
owners don't have any access to their property through, on these, but they'd have to be notified.
But they do have access currently to
Somewhere
their
else.
property from somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, they uphill country
Yeah,
road.
which to me is what it's all
And that's
about.
what it has to be advertised, and
Right.
people can
And you know,
talk to us.
since that's not a county road, it might actually have to go through zoning, because it's a subdivision.
That's what I'm
True.
thinking. But if I may, I don't like last minute surprises.
Okay,
I don't mean this in a negative way, Ms. Burton.
I don't
just-
know all the,
It's fine.
What
Just-
when?
We're trying to help you go
Sure.
through it, but I am absolutely in no position to do anything other than what was on the table for today. If this question comes up again in a future meeting and we've done our homework, I'd be happy to discuss it with you and do what we feel is the appropriate thing at that time. But I'm willing to do what we've agreed to at this point,
Right.
and we'll talk about the
Okay.
rest of it
Easier to
later.
buy
As I
or
said,
drive.
if this vacation of this road is a stumbling block for you, then let's postpone this transaction. If it's not, then let's deal with why we're here, and then let's do the vacate later on.
we bought our property in the first place knowing it had these problems.
Yes, okay, all right, good. I can tell you probably won't get much resistance from me as long as we're not landlocking somebody else, and
How do these people down here for these lots, what's their access?
Currently, the road is only on paper.
Well, but there are lots here that, do they have to,
Do you know if there's a driveway somewhere else?
on the other side.
You're not
No,
trying to
there's not.
vacate down
Just
below. there's
Not
nothing.
Emma,
No, we're not trying to vacate.
Emma.
Yeah, and is there anybody, I mean, do they have anything on there, junk cars
In the
and anything
venture
like that?
Grass,
Well,
nothing.
Just grass.
Currently, no
Yeah,
cars, no
probably
campers,
probably
no,
No.
nada.
Okay.
We're doing the right thing.
Right.
Alright.
Yeah,
And that'd be an issue for a separate day, but.
right. Which I don't think we have an issue with that, it's just not gonna be dealt with today.
Not part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So how do I go about paying for this?
Okay, a couple things, if you don't mind holding on just a second here. So gentlemen, any questions about what we're doing today?
None whatsoever,
I've got the resolution, prepared, we do, sorry, I happen to personally have it up here as Jay. You have a copy of the resolution as well, or not? If you do not, let me
It's on
give
the packet, if you don't have the, and we.
Oh, I have this, that's all I've got.
No,
Did you?
Resolution 19.
I did not get that.
Do you have a hard copy to sign if you?
yes, I've got the hard copy, I was just asking Bill if he
I
had
haven't
a
seen
copy,
it
so
yet.
you can look at these, obviously, these are the originals, so we'll write on those. I'm assuming, ma'am, for the sum total of $11,000, these said blocks, you're satisfied with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I would move that the county enter into and sign contract, a
We have two
deed
things to
with,
deal with, the resolution.
well, yeah, the resolution and then the deed itself, to deal with the sale of the said lots, 2A Block 3, 24 Block 3, and Lot 8 Block 5, Golden Arrow Valley subdivision.
Well, second. Can you?
Been moved and seconded to sign the
Keep it
contract,
honest.
to sell 11 lots.
I think you need a motion to approve the resolution first, and that
That's
is,
where I was gonna go.
yeah, that
That's
is
why I
the,
mentioned the
what we're
resolution,
doing.
but it's the same blocks.
You could, the entire motion was great,
Uh,
think of the resolution 19.
Do the resolution and then do the deed second to that.
Right, once the resolution is
Okay.
done, 'cause it makes reference to that
Same.
resolution in the deed
Right.
itself.
Change it to resolution.
I withdraw my motion. Second withdrawn?
Yep.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve County Resolution 19-06.
Okay, let me state it this time. see if Jay will agree. I move that we adopt the resolution number 19-6. Whereas the county, for the property located in the county that are described as Lot 2A, Block 3, Lot 24, Block 3, and Lot 8, Block 5, all in the Golden Valley, or Arrow Valley subdivision.
Is there a second?
I second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Custer County Resolution 19-06 as stated by Commissioner Kanda. Discussion.
The resolution does call for selling these for the bid price of $11,000. And it also specifies that the funds would go into the Custer County Justice Center, fund.
Okay, thank you, sir. Further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution 19-06
Now, here's
passes.
a hard copy of the deed of county. And I did,
I've got one.
well, this is a
Sorry.
little bit better paper, actually. I mean, it's, I just printed it out just so it's better than the cheap copy paper.
We don't want the cheap.
No, cause I'm sure they're
This
gonna
you
wanna
can- you
frame
can
this,
frame.
hanging on the wall with all the other deeds they've got. Putting all those parts. I talked to, Ms. Burton about this and explained that this property's been owned by the county for well over 30 years. Nobody paid taxes on it, nobody wanted to buy it through a tax sale. So by default ownership, just went to
And
the
this
county.
souvenir.
And I talked to her about it and explained the difference between a warranty deed and a quitclaim deed. And this deed of county is essentially a quitclaim deed. And Ms. Burton,
Yeah, I give it back.
yeah, so you have to give it back.
Yeah, Ms. Burton, we will need that back,
Yeah.
sorry.
I can get,
Even though it's cheap, no,
I can
here's
give
the
you a
real.
copy of that, but.
She has to
I just meant that
Once
for
the deed
your,
is
for your
signed,
scrapbook.
I'll
Oh,
eventually get
that's
it
the-
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll have to take it and record it, and then she'll send you the
No,
recorded
this was the
document.
That's
scrap copy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I gave it.
But anyway, Ms. Burton was fine with accepting ownership this way, that there's virtually nobody's gonna make a claim on any of this property.
Okay. And then is a motion in order for the deed of county signature.
Yes.
So I move, well, I don't.
You're authorizing the chairman to sign this pursuant to resolution 19-06, sign it on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners.
We did the resolution.
You did the
We that.
resolution, so now
So now
pursuant to the language of
pursuant to
that.
the language in that resolution, I move that, we want, how do we wanna state this? We execute.
That you
the deed of
authorize the
county.
chairman
We
to
authorize
sign
the
the
chairman
deed
to sign the deed
on
of county
behalf of the
on
board.
behalf of the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
So, lots 2A, block 3, lot 24, block 3, lot 8, block 5, on Golden Valley or something.
Golden Arrow.
Golden Arrow.
I seconded it too early, but
Yeah.
I'll second
You
it.
can second it.
Moved and seconded to authorize the chair to sign the deed, for said lots. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Well, actually, I should have been asking for public comment along the way, I apologize. Public comment on the motion to sign. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.
Congratulations.
It would appear that you're now the proud owner of 11 additional lots.
Can I see the check just for a second?
And then,
See if it passes.
It looks like it's good to go.
good, thank you.
I guess that needs to go over to
Ms. Kelly.
Yeah, cause she has to record the deed now, and then she'll mail it to you and your husband.
Is that your mailing address on that, County Road 255? Yes.
So you get your mail at your house.
Yes.
Nice, good. Well, thank you, ma'am, I appreciate that. You are more than welcome to reappear on the vacate issue. We'll need to do a little research, so just
I work
call
with
Meredith.
Meredith
Yes,
on that.
ma'am. She will alert us to that, then we can do the research that we need to do ahead of time.
Very good.
So, thank you, I appreciate it, congratulations.
Keep asking questions and finding the path to go.
Yeah, well, good, well, hope we can,
Right.
hope we can help you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank your husband for us as well, would you please?
They've been having trouble with the
Charlie
radio
having a
station.
ball over there, what's going
And
on?
he's been working on new equipment coming in.
So, yeah, you can just mention to Meredith real quick what you're thinking, and then we'll go from there.
Meredith, I'll get back to
Oh,
you.
well, maybe you don't wanna bother her, because she's eating cake and ice cream right now.
Yeah, man.
And didn't bring any for us, you know.
It's rude to eat.
It is.
Live stream.
In front
I
of,
don't
oh, I thought you meant in front of.
Oh, no.
Next item of business, discussion of the medical care in the jail. We've kinda already dealt with that when Ms. Livengood was here, so by consent, gentlemen, we'll move on from that. Broadband strategic plan, 5-year update. I can't believe it. It's been 5 years.
Time goes fast when you're having fun.
So the last time you were in front of the commissioners was 5 years ago.
No.
No.
I haven't heard an update.
How are you, sir? Back in the country?
I don't think I've ever heard an update.
Cause you weren't here 5 years ago.
I guess not.
Yeah, that's right. We weren't here 5 years ago.
Some of us were.
Yeah. So paint the big picture succinctly, if you can, just quickly about Upper Ark Council of Governments. Why isn't this an economic development strategic plan, 5-year, and blah, blah, blah?
Well, the previous 5-year plan was managed by the COG, DOLA funded principally with the 5 county contributions.
Who are they? Just get us all on.
We're the southernmost, but it's Custer, Fremont, Chaffee Lake, and whatever the next
Park.
one. Park, which is actually not underneath the COG, except they chose to work with the other 4
Right.
rather than
Go
their
north,
conference.
yeah.
We started soon after the first of the year. First, it was a meeting of basically the ones that was left over from the previous effort as to whether we should do a update because we were nearing 5 years. We reviewed the accomplishments of the last almost 5 years, and the consensus was that's appropriate for us to update it and such. And realizing
I mean, the topography hadn't changed, but a lot of things have come, technology has gone forward and all that. And to some extent, we've had a change, in our steering committee group.
So, just keep us on the same page. You're talking about update the strategic plan. You all had a meeting and decided to update the plan,
Yes.
so we'll make it new.
And then the COG went to, DOLA, and we received $10,000 from DOLA to support the effort. With that approval, the COG, solicited for, contractor help to do this. In fact,
When was that?
it was actually finalized, probably within the last 60 days.
So when was the grant requested from the COG?
Soon
A
after
year
the
ago or
first,
something?
no, all of this happened since the first
Oh,
year.
okay. So, in the COG, cause I'm new, the COG membership is who are the authorities on the board?
Well,
County government, is there,
we have,
who represents who?
okay, for Custer County, it's Dale, as far as the broadband strategic set. And generally, each county has got a minimum of 2 people that have been active in this effort for over 5 years.
So are they, the other people, are they county employees, county commissioners,
It's a
county
mix.
Citizens? Who are
It's,
they?
I
Do they
have
have
a
a-
list here, but
You guys are here today as reps from COG. This has nothing to do with Economic Development Corporation,
Right.
correct?
That's what I'm trying to-
Okay.
And you're a member of the COG?
No,
no.
representing our county on this particular,
this deal, yeah.
So you,
yeah.
The county.
Here's our
is
county
not-
rep for council government.
I'm trying to get who, the authority they got to be on the board and who actually are the, cause I know nothing about, I just know nothing about.
He's about to ask you.
But, so we started this effort, like I said, right after the first year. Concurrence was that we should have an update. We got the, DOLA, Judy submitted to DOLA, got the $10,000. We were notified within the last month that it was available. They solicited, for help. Paul Rank, I'm not, if I can pronounce it perfectly, Ricanzoni, the one who did our previous survey, and also did a number of the regional broadband strategic plans that were supported under DOLA. Said yes, he would, and that, from that standpoint, at least he didn't have to train somebody else, and cost-wise, that was very good.
Who is Judy?
Judy Roberts with COG.
He's a cop kid. Can't go to COG.
King?
She,
I don't know what her title is, but.
Who does she work for?
she works for COG.
I know, but what is it just separate, it's a separate government
It's a
entity?
separate
Upper
I'm just trying to get how it's,
Arkansas
how it's,
She gets
organized.
paid.
Yeah, just paid through there.
So she's like a
As does
director.
We pay our dues to them.
Autumn and
This ceremony.
Okay.
So we've got, tacit approval of, from the 5 counties as far as progressing. The point is 2 things, some clarification from the email I gave you previously. There will be a kickoff meeting 10 July. Previously that indicated the desire to have, stakeholders at that meeting. Paul has clarified that he just wanted the steering committee at that time, but we.
Who's Paul?
Paul Rick and Joni, the consultant. Basically, we'll be organizing the calendar and the implementation with his coordination. It will include a community meeting and then one-on-one interviews with stakeholders, either personal or by phone, to submit the and support the plan.
So, if I can interrupt you, sir, so this meeting on the 10th now, what is that meeting for? I know you just said some stuff, but I'm not sure it got all the way in here. And who should be at that meeting? Because we were assuming we were gonna be there.
That's a may change.
Okay.
The current direction is that, we on the steering committee.
Just a working meeting.
Yeah,
for the
and it's,
people on the
and it's
steering
mainly try to support the schedule and where we're gonna do this. It won't get into any of the content, it'll be just the administration.
Okay, then let me follow up on what Tom just said, cause Jay, you're on this, you're our rep, right?
I'm your COG rep.
Right, now he said that there was tacit approval by the counties. Did you approve something? What does that mean?
That means that
As a county?
the
I
steering
approve
committee.
nothing without authorization.
I know, I'm just asking, what, he said tacit approval by the 5 counties, I'm just,
Well,
I had first
Talking
heard.
by the people on the steering committee, right?
Yes. Now, realize we had no authority to obligate any funds or anything else, but from a functional standpoint, we've agreed with the COG as far as the selection of the contract and such like that. And then actually only, gosh, a week, 10 days ago, when I sent the first message out, it was identified what each county's pro rata share would be of the cost.
Right. Is that still
300.
on the table or not?
No, I mean, well, it's been a change, because
Right.
initially, I think in the email I sent you, I said it was $1,570.
Right.
It's actually $1,570.40.
Got it? Okay. So, go ahead.
And is that divided, is that our share, or that's divided by?
Now, what we have proposed within the county is that we split it 4 ways.
Yeah.
For individually at $392.60, and that's including the 2 towns, the county, and the economic development.
To split membership,
No.
to split, what do we split?
The 1,700.
I know, what is that for?
That's the contribution necessary to support the grant.
It was a matching grant.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, all right, now, see, catching us up to speed here.
Yeah, you gotta understand, other than that email you
I
sent
have,
to
I
us.
have never
and-
ever
and-
heard.
And really made a conscious decision until we knew what the cost was,
Right.
that it wasn't an issue that wanted to bother you with.
Right.
So, all right,
Got it. But you knew there was gonna be some costs somewhere along the way, cause it was a matching grant.
Yeah.
this is another basic question, cause you're bringing us up to speed, and you're involved.
Actually, I haven't been.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
He's not.
I'm
okay.
listening to this is my 3rd time.
Okay.
What you really need to do is instead of just piecemeal, give us the background on what this is, what it's for, why we're doing it, and what we're gonna get for our $391.
Right, that's what I want, I wanna know the mission, function, why are we, what does this government agency do, of multiple counties that have banded together? Is it a plan only for broadband, is it a plan for multiple things that we're gonna do together?
All sorts of
All
stuff.
sorts of stuff, I just wanna know what we're doing.
This is just a committee out of the Council of Governments to deal with broadband, what you're talking about.
Is that what it is?
Council of Governments might be helping you hire somebody, housing,
I know, I've heard of
there's
the
a
Upper Ark
myriad-
Council of Governments, so I'm confused
Well,
what we're.
the thing about it is
This is
basic.
booked as the government broadband strategic plan. Upper Ark Council of Governments
I
broadband
think
strategic
early
plan.
in your positions, we provided you a copy of the existing plan. If we
Maybe.
need to do that again, we'd be glad to. It's been the guidance that we've had for the last 5 years as far as the efforts we've gone.
So Charles, I hear you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, the money that you're asking for is it just as a membership of the Council of Governments, or is it a part of this committee obligation? What is it? What are we buying?
It is matching funds for the DOLA $10,000 grant.
For?
to update the
For the
plan.
update plan.
Okay. And you said I thought we had been awarded that or something, you said.
$10,000, yes.
But now we gotta come up with 10 grand.
Well,
Whatever the matching,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so now coming,
And like I say, the basic plan, it was almost $5,000. So we're getting the benefit. They have provided a draft outline of the document basically the status, what we had, proposed and documented virtually 5 years ago, and look at incorporating, and since really we've got, depending on how you cut it, probably 3 or 4 broadband or internet related initiatives in the county now. We'll be trying to bring those in, rationalize them, and make it a coherent plan that,
Before you get into the specifics, this is still a process problem I have. You're proposing to get the payment and split it 4 ways between Winkie, Lastwell, us, and
economic development.
who?
Yeah.
Oh, you.
Custer County Economic Development Corporation, yes.
Okay, so you're gonna loan some money,
No, we're gonna pay our share, a fourth of it.
but who are you representing? Your corporation, or who? If it's the county that is trying to, and the municipality's volunteering, that I understand that, and we're gonna split the cost. Has Silvercliff and Westcliff agreed to do that yet?
Yes.
Silvercliff and Westcliff did, and you wanna get our piece, and so are you, I'm just trying to figure out how CCED fits into the Upper Ark Council of Governments as a member representing who? If we got counties, if I'm paying $360 for our membership, then we're representing Custer County. Get it?
Yeah,
And who are you representing? All of everybody?
that's been our initiative for, in excess
But are you
of 5 years.
representing all 4 counties then? Is that what?
No.
Well, so it's a conflict.
I think in January, when you guys appoint your people to
Right.
different groups,
This is,
Charles was appointed as the representative to COG, and you're in this strategic, you're
Then
the
why are we paying
you're
2
in the,
memberships?
Well, this is not a membership
No.
for.
Well, whatever the
Yeah.
cost, why are we sharing?
but the county, you guys appointed him to the COG thing in January.
but this really doesn't relate to that. It's, we've been the lead as far as efforts, for 7 years, as far as broadband in this county, and we still accept that responsibility.
Well, I have not advocated that, from my point of view, the county responsibility for what the county signs up to, Charles.
Well,
And so,
and you will
and so-
have approval, just like your predecessors, on the final report.
then then why are you paying $360 to be a member? You have you see what I'm saying? It's confusing on whose chain of authority here the command is on that council. You know,
This, forget about the Upper Arkansas Council of Governments, other than they're the manager of this grant.
and they want matching funds from the counties, and we are obligated to matching funds.
Yes, and we have, like I say, we've got approval of 3 of the 4 entities, as we have suggested, to cover this cost, rather than coming to the county and ask for this total amount.
There's 3, you're the 4th, you don't represent the county, we do, and we obligate the funds to match, that's my point.
And that's what he's asking, basically,
Right,
right?
you want our-
Eventually, you're gonna ask us for 300 and
Well,
whatever that
Well,
it
is.
there's
seems like
2
it'd be a
things,
third.
2 things that I would, ask is, number 1, designate some people to some stakeholders that consultant can, talk to as far as offline or personal or phone stuff. And then also make the contribution of $392.60. So that's the 2,
See, I'm still arguing, guys, before I'm not clear. To me, there's $10,000 that has to be paid to match, or whatever it is. And you're soliciting the Council of Governments. Council of Governments means governments to me, and so there's Fremont County.
You pay dues.
Right, and so,
To the county.
Right.
member and be
and
supported.
so, then they want a fair share from each county to match that fund.
Right.
That would be, so there's 3 entities in this, county that are governments that would pony up and split that 3 ways, in my view. I'm confused why you all are paying to represent the county.
If, using your logic, we should pay the whole thing, cause we're
Right.
the county.
Well,
Using your logic.
well, that's right.
Right.
That's my point, is how, and we can, if the municipalities wanna come together as part of that, I think that's their choice, and I think I hear Silver Cliff
That's
has.
the same
And
thing
the same
you
with
say.
economic development.
Yeah.
So they're gonna give
They
us
would
some
like to
money
be-
Right.
to add
would
to
like
it,
to have-
but the authority is ours to represent and to
Ultimately-
vote on that board.
Ultimately, it'll come to a vote.
Mhm.
We're gonna say, thank you very much for explaining to us what you need to vote for, and we will vote for it. They will not have a vote.
That's right. And I'm glad that they're volunteering to pay for some of that, that's great, if that's what is
Well,
in fact
that
happening.
that makes them a stakeholder in the process before it comes to us. I personally appreciate
But
the
I'm not saying I don't
towns
appreciate it.
and this organization that has been the primary focus of broadband in this county forever, since day one. I mean.
You don't have to convince me, Jay, I
get it.
agree.
So my
I'm
feeling is,
hung up on the
we're gonna have
process.
4 stakeholders in this. Ultimately, the decision's gonna come right to this table.
The real
Whether
stakeholders,
it's this
Jay,
way or it's
are the
not.
three,
Corners.
you're right, it's the 3 municipalities, the governments here. We're the ones that are accountable. If it, and I'm glad that they're participating as volunteers, that's great. But in the end, the voters of this county aren't gonna go after them if something screws up, it's us. And so we
That's
are
why
the
we will make
stakeholder.
the ultimate
That's right,
decision, not them.
right.
But they.
But you
will
use
be
the word
stakeholder.
stakeholder with them, and they
When I
have a
say
dog
stake-
in the fight, I agree.
When I say stakeholder, what I mean they have
Okay.
a vested interest in the process. The ultimate decision comes from the organization that has the ultimate
That's right.
decision,
Okay.
and that is
All
us.
right.
But you can have stakeholders all
And
over the
that's right,
world
but if we
anyway.
wanna go and get a bunch of volunteers to add some more money to the pot and reduce our
Could.
county cost, that we
You
could do that.
certainly
could ask
I'm all
10 people to
for
do it,
that.
right?
You certainly could. Do you wanna
Okay.
ask tourism to be part of this, or do you
No,
wanna?
you know what,
You know
But
I
you
agree,
could do
I just
that.
wanted to make
Well,
sure,
when you
because,
first responded to the email I sent you, you said you expect us to pay for it. That's short answer, yes. Now,
And do you-
as it's evolved, and really, considering that the fact that both towns have got internet ideas,
Mhm.
and from a technical and from a cost situation,
Sure.
they need to be integrated.
Sure.
And you know,
I'm
with what the county and both towns are, because if we each, and looking at it from a global deal, if we proceed potentially with what, we could have certain degrees of redundancy, excess
Okay.
cost.
we're
and
good,
stuff
we're
like
talking
that.
the same thing.
Yeah.
I agree. The bottom line is, when it comes to making a decision for whatever, we're gonna come up with whatever the plan and whatever we do, and we have a consultant gonna give us some recommendations. This table, and we'll take recommendations from other people, but you're not raising your hand to vote one way or the other. You're just being
I
a
just
good
want the
guy, and you're
process
gonna
to work.
give us $400 and off we go. Okay, that's good with me.
That is exactly right. The $400 is the
We had the same
buy-in,
issue, no?
the buy-in to the poker table, but you're not gonna be the winner. I can tell you that now, in terms of,
Well,
you're
yeah.
not the vote, you're not the kingpin.
Yeah, I was confused on who was who here, so
They're
you're right.
buying a seat at the table so that they have legitimacy to say, hey, during discussions, I don't agree with that, or I think that's a great idea, or here's my ideas. That's what they're buying it for $400.
I think part of the situation here is that you guys, you two particularly, more than a lot, probably get the sense, and I think accurately, that you're never gonna get a rubber stamp on spending some money, even if it's $392, unless we understand the whole picture. We didn't understand the whole picture. I didn't either. I just knew. I mean, I get the COG and I get the steering committee and 5 counties. I didn't know about a $10,000 grant until you sit down
I
in that
didn't.
chair today.
Had
You
no
just said
clue.
you're gonna need some matching money for a grant. Didn't know who did it, didn't know who
Well-
granted it, didn't know why it was, all that kind of stuff. So, let's not argue about the money, it's the point that it is money, not the dollar amount.
Right.
But the fact that there is money we're gonna expend. I think Bill's frustration was, let's look at the big picture to get it down to a decision.
And we didn't, I didn't, and you
Right.
did, I didn't know there was a strategic plan for 4 counties until
you know, seriously, and I know you.
Five counties.
5 counties.
And we
whatever.
did get a copy, but
We
you
got-
gotta understand, man, we were drinking from a fire
That's
hose
right.
the first 6 months, right? You could've given us the Declaration of Independence and it would've ended up over here in this file cabinet and I wouldn't have remembered it. So, it doesn't mean it's right, I think that was just the facts.
And also, I wanna remind you that this county, like others, opted out of this, what was the initiative that held you hostage to a utility or a?
Senate Bill 152.
Yes. And so we definitely
We were
want-
the unilateral effort
I got
to
you.
get that in the 3 votes that it took. It was
I'm with you. So
Alright.
given that, it's important to us, that's why it's important to me, to have these towns and us looking at the bigger picture so that we're, and, you know, that we're not, we wanna make sure when we're representing this county in that council of governments, we're not strapping into something that would be against the wishes of the voters of this county and the 2 municipalities. They did it separately as well.
Well, in the previous report, there was a county summary. What we are going to propose in this format is while there will be a county situation, there will be subsets for both of the 2 towns, because they have plans that are peculiar to their municipalities. But the whole idea is, and I think we'll all agree, is there's independent efforts going that aren't technically or economically coordinated.
Mhm.
And we all know that we're gonna be going to DOLA and,
Yes.
and the high cost fund, and those people would appreciate the fact that our efforts are coordinated.
Right.
And,
Well, it's not only DOLA, because there's other agencies
That's
with
what
money
just
that
said.
we
There's
have.
others.
I thought that's what I said,
So,
excuse me.
What we're doing, or what the plan is, instead of each entity and each county just going off on their own, a concerted effort makes so much more sense to bring broadband service into the counties and this area that we're discussing. And this is a concerted effort rather than Lake County do their thing, West Cliff do their thing, Silver Cliff do their thing. Let's get it all together and let's come up with a plan that we could work for all of us.
Economies of scale.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes perfectly good sense to me. Now, I'm
That's
not
why I
saying you
care.
should feel that way. That's
Even
the way I
even
feel.
just bringing into Custer County, you got the municipalities, you got several things, you got broadband towers,
Right.
you got fiber coming in, options, we got CenturyLink laying down cap
And this
funds.
is all gonna be
Needs to be
integrated
considered.
into this
Yeah, okay.
broadband initiative.
And I would suggest that since you've been dealing with CDOT, that was a question we had, last night or the night before.
CDOT and,
We need to bring all the players in, because
Department of Agriculture.
5 years ago, CDOT wasn't speaking to anyone, and that has improved incrementally. There's been, changes in, the governor, there's been changes in funding at the state level.
Well, even the government, the US government, Charles, we got the US Department of Agriculture with their broadband effort that's working with
EDA.
Silver Cliff, and we wanna understand that impact as well.
So, you know, it's, and from each of the, folks, each of the organizations, I would hope that we bring that to the head, and we can come out of this with a more coherent plan, that we all agree.
Coordinated plan.
Yes, because it
So-
definitely hasn't been coordinated.
Okay, so why are you here? Let's get back to why you're
It's
here.
2
now.
people and money,
And I think I wanna go to that meeting, sounds like.
and I will be the second one unless someone else chooses
Well-
to do that.
The consultant says he just wants
I don't care, I don't wanna go here. He's a consultant.
What time is that, Tim?
I don't have the time yet.
Or the place.
But
I
I
I
know
thought the location was a steam plant.
Steam
It's-
plan is what it
it's
said, what's the
steam
time?
Oh, it is, you found a look, last time I thought we didn't have a place.
2 o'clock, Wednesday, the 10th of June.
2
2 o'clock.
Salida Steam Plant.
10th of June?
July.
July,
July.
2 o'clock,
at the steam plant.
and the steam plant is.
Salida.
Charles, what's the 5
That's a
counties?
quaint name for a
2
county.
o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Custer, Fremont, Chaffee,
Lake.
Lake.
And Park.
And what was that full amount that we're splitting?
We're splitting $1,570.40.
15, 7,
0,
40.
40.
Thank you.
There will be, after we've scheduled things and stuff, there will be a community meeting in each of the counties. And then with the designated stakeholders, Paul will, either personally or by phone interview them as far as Interscope. And basically, a clarification is two's a minimum rather than a maximum.
And this is all geared towards updating the 5-year plan.
That's the
That's
mission
it.
of life.
We're not going off and developing an IGA with some other company, we're just updating this plan.
And it will not necessarily be dollar related, it will be goal related as far as technical support of improving the internet.
So,
Okay, so let me ask a question to my fellow comrades here, commissioners. At some point, and this is information, we're gonna meet, as we mentioned before, with a workshop with Silvercliff and Westcliff and us to discuss the plans that both towns have for fiber, service into the two towns, and that might benefit us as a county too. And we need to do that probably sooner than later in order to be, I don't know what we're gonna hear at, what do you think, Charles, is gonna be the structure of this 10th of July meeting?
I think it's purely organizational scheduling and such like that.
That'll work.
Rather than anything technical.
Okay. So that'll give us time to coordinate a meeting. That's what I want to make sure.
And then since we haven't been, we've been very limited as far as knowledge, part of the deal is with this consultant and bringing us to rationalize what the towns need. I mean, we visited and attended the Silvercliff kickoff meeting on their effort, but that was all we know about what's happening.
Mm-hmm. So that's why we're trying to understand it too.
Well, and I would hope that we might, one might be, one meeting might be adequate with the consultant unless you just want to have another meeting with the other two. I mean, if those people bring their representative and bring their vision and what they want to.
I'm not talking down here, I'm talking this separate meeting.
Well, I'm suggesting that it might be able to kill two birds with one stone.
Maybe.
So it's appropriate on that that we authorize the expenditure of $392.60. Well, let me rephrase it. I move that we authorize up to $400 in case there's a penny or two here or there. For our contribution with the other 3 entities in Custer County to help fund our share of the matching grant to upgrade the 5-year plan.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to authorize up to $400 for the county's share of the 4 entities that are gonna chip in on the matching grant from DOLA to update the 5-year strategic plan, COG's 5-year strategic plan for broadband. Discussion?
Okay, I got a quick one. Fred, you're a trustee of Silvercliff, right?
Yes,
Did
sir.
you guys authorize $360?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
we did.
And did, and we don't know that Winky has or hasn't, you said
Well,
he did?
he said he did, they did.
Last night.
Oh, you met with him last night, okay, good, so I was wondering if they didn't, we would have to figure out how we're gonna,
We're the only one left.
okay, cool.
And it was timing, not.
I was gonna say,
asked for any
there
particular reason.
wasn't any plot in those, that just happened to be.
No,
one
sure.
that's
What the
what-
meetings were.
Okay.
And where are we gonna get that money?
And that's an excellent question.
Meredith's fund for candy.
That's y'all's money.
I would say we, I can't remember the line.
I think we have enough in there.
number, but,
We have
It's an
a
economic development.
miscellaneous line, but we do have some discretionary funds.
I'm
The problem, because it's not a tourism thing, I don't even know what budget line it would come from. Unless we take it from Bill's salary.
Yeah.
Okay with me?
Let me look here real quick. Probably more of an internal thing, but I guess we probably should.
Well, it's $400, it's not 400,000.
But if it was 400,000, we'd be asking the same question, right? Where's it coming from?
Yeah, I'd be real concerned. If it's that kind of money, then I really wanna know where it's coming from, and I might take it from multiple funds, but doesn't come with the budget anyway.
Give me just a second here. I thought it was 50 dash something, but. If, as you say, that's a good question, then we probably should have an answer to it, right? And if we need to call Miss Donna to streamline the process,
I was about to ask if you wanted me
yeah, ask her about the $20,000, original $20,000 budget line, that the commissioners have some leeway in, what account that is.
So, irrespective of which fund it comes out of, I think we should vote for it. I think we'll find it in the proper account, but I don't think it's gonna hold up.
Yeah, we don't need to waste time.
I agree,
Too late.
I
Too
just
late, you already
find
did, is that what you
ourselves
said?
asking.
No, she said.
I always find ourselves saying, that's a good question, and then we never bother to really.
Perfectly appropriate question, but when it came down to writing the check, someone's gonna ask the question again, and if we need to
Right.
determine it that time, we'll determine it that time. Bottom line, we're making the commitment to be a partner with the other three entities to upgrade the strategic plan. So I don't see.
I'll
an issue.
clarify, but I told the other two, and CCEDC was, that we would each write a check to COG. I'll clarify.
Oh, so the check needs to go to COG.
That's, as far as I know right now, but I'll confirm that.
And again, that's minutia in my
Yeah.
opinion, I don't care. You
As long as
tell us.
they don't misinterpret, the bottom line, it's Custer County.
You didn't get a hold of them.
They know what we're attempting to do.
She probably did. Okay.
And in all truthfulness, the only alternative that we could see would be, like we started with, is that, in realizing the county's situation financially is trying to spread the wealth, plus to get, the two towns to basically buy into the process. Because they have interest.
Not just buy into it, be part of it.
Well, that's one of the same.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. Probably this count thing probably more internal than, you don't care what count it comes out
As long as
of,
it's paid.
so. And so, we'll let the record show that check will be made out to Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments.
I'll
And a
confirm.
matching, you wanna talk to Donna or?
Well, I'll talk to Judy and be sure that she's
Okay,
the,
but we gotta get the word to Donna.
yeah.
Well, you're gonna probably fill out a voucher for that, or no? I don't know. No, you wouldn't, cause you're doing your own thing with economic development.
Judy will send an invoice.
She's looking for it right now.
I don't wanna restrict it that this check is gonna go to
COG,
COG,
why not?
because maybe it's gonna be us write one check for the county and get reimbursed from the other organization. I mean, I just don't wanna limit.
I
I'll
agree,
clarify.
I have a little bit different reason for agreeing with that. I think what we're trying to do, to me, is we have a county position, Custer County, which involves three organizations getting together and doing what's best for Custer County.
Correct.
And making sure we understand, so it's us going to the board, to that council as a entity, to me. And I think one check, and if we wanted to give it to Paul Winkie to give for the county, I think it's us representing the county and the municipalities. There's probably one check written.
See, I don't agree. I think these entities are all gonna wanna have.
The needs for Westcliff may be different. from
Right.
I know, and that's why we ought to have we ought to be together on that as a county, I would think, we would.
Well, as a county, we are.
Well, sure, because,
Well,
so
you
to
do
me,
those
what
other
I meant by
communities.
that is if, there's a solution, or if there's a need that, Silver Cliff wants, or Westcliff, we ought to understand how that impacts what we want, you know, and what we would help advocate for, so that we're going as a combined entity
And
to
we
that
really
group,
are.
rather than us all arguing with each other at those council meetings about, let's go, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't disagree with that, I think it ought to.
I think that's one advantage of having an independent person involved in this. He's got no stake in any of our
Sure.
individual interests other than to come out with a coordinated plan, and that's certainly, on the steering committee, that's what, our desire is.
Well, I think Judy invoices us, we pay our share in the discussion.
I'll
I don't
confirm
care.
that.
If I was the town of Silver Cliff, I'd say, no, I'm not paying Custer County, they're not doing it, I'm gonna pay COG, they're doing it, so I don't know. But we voted to pay up to $400. Yes, ma'am,
Community outreach.
thank you, could not think of that,
And
saved my
y'all
life.
only spent like
Yeah,
a little bit
it's
over
fine.
600.
No, we're good. All right, so, yeah, come out of community outreach, that's an internal thing, but nonetheless. All right, sir,
We'll keep it informed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Sorry, I got so worried.
Okay, public comment. Hearing none, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before you do that,
Yes.
I have a question. You asked for OT6's address.
Yes.
I don't have an address.
Oh, I thought you did.
I did too. All we've been doing is, they don't wanna do it by mail, they've always done it by
Okay,
email.
I'll get it.
You have a reason you need that?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Let me give it to you here later.
You have an address?
The email. yeah.
No, I've got their email, I need a physical address.
Oh, I can get that.
I'll just talk to David and get it. I thought you just would have it, but.
No, I don't have it. It was not my name, the letters that I've
Okay.
gotten, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, a question just for clarification. The issue that was brought up, several meetings ago about comp time for exempt employees, am I correct in determining that we're gonna follow the policy which says there is no comp time for exempt employees?
I don't think we reached that conclusion based on the information
Well,
you gave us.
I brought information, it hasn't, nothing has happened
Right.
with it, so I thought it may have just died. The question that we put on the table,
Right.
do you remember?
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Trying to-
I'm not even say it was a suggestion, it was if we chose that there were
Some options, you gave us some options.
outside normal reasons why we felt it would be appropriate, because sometimes they could fill out a form and we'd approve it or not approve it. But we hadn't moved that forward at
Right.
all or discussed any further, so I didn't know if we were gonna just let it die and leave it. Because the policy says no comp time for exempt employees, period, the end.
Right, 'cause
There
that-
may be instances where it's appropriate.
Didn't mean, it didn't say that they couldn't have the time off. It just said
Well,
no
yeah, you
comp.
can, because that would be contrary to policy, we'd have to change the policy, if we chose to do this, we'd change the policy saying, and my suggestion was, and of course, my suggestion is just, a suggestion, that based on a majority vote of the three of us, we could or would be able to do it on a case-by-case basis when someone says, here's what I believe I deserve X amount of time off. So we just left it on the table, and I didn't know if we wanted to
Right.
pursue it any further or not.
Well, I think we should.
Yeah, we
I think it's severed the fate of several things. We get,
No doubt.
other stuff gets shoved off to
And
the
it's-
side of the plate,
Well,
cause
that's
it's
why I brought it
more
back
pressing.
back on.
So, yeah, I think let's maybe look at that,
Sometime in the future.
maybe our July 31st meeting.
Not
Yeah,
in
why
a
not?
rush at all. I just didn't want to, if we want to let it die, let's just let it die, but if we
Oh, I don't
chose
know.
not
We
to
wanna
let
let
it
it
die,
die.
let's finish the
Let's
conversation.
make sure it's clean
You
so everybody
got too
understands.
much time and effort,
That's
and
not
I
the
think
issue.
we do need to make a
Discuss it.
decision and by God live with it, whatever that is. I don't have a preconceived idea, but this thing of just, well, it says that, but we're doing something else.
That is
Yeah,
not,
I agree.
that is where we have
Yeah.
the issue, I
Yeah.
concur completely.
So
with
I've
you.
asked
What
Meredith
would
to-
you like the
Just
terminology of it? Discussion or?
discussion, consider it, well, we can consider it. Consideration of, personnel policy pertaining to, it's really overtime, but nobody likes
Continue
that, so we'll
the-
call it comp time.
Discussion on policy for comp time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and technically,
And I didn't mean to
it's,
create an issue, I just.
no, you didn't, thank you for bringing that up. We just, it did, I forgot about it, to be honest with you.
I know.
There's some other things that have got pushed off the table too, certainly, haven't there?
Fair enough.
So, we just gotta keep pounding away on that stuff, so. Correct me if I'm wrong. My wife says I'm getting a little arrogant in my attitude about that I know certain things. So, I'm looking to you two, Beth, you be quiet about that.
Duh.
We're not talking about that. Comp time is a form of overtime. Yes or no?
Not in my mind.
No.
Not the way I have in my proposal, my suggestion, not in the way I presented it.
Okay?
For non-exempt employees, the answer is yes, because you have the option of being paid time and a half.
Or not.
Or take the time off. For exempt employees, I'm saying we reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
And handle it.
And here's a
differently.
clean way to think about it.
I don't want more
My
money
view.
going.
We don't, it's not about more money, it's about your salary to begin with, and you're signing up for a nominal 8-hour day, and everybody does, that's what they come to work for, and they know that it ebbs and tides, and we know that, so I look at it as if you worked 36 hours one week, or, well, let's go, 44 hours, and I say, then the month balances out to be the 80 hours or whatever it is for the 2 weeks. Then comp time is just giving them the time on the following week to take 4 hours off. Only it's at the discretion of the boss. If you're not gonna be doing anything, you can come in an hour later. That kind of thing is what people normally do in government that I'm with.
Well, certainly,
So you're not paying for it,
I understand
Let's talk about what comes up.
compensatory time, I understand that.
okay.
I guess my question
How you
is.
handle that.
No, it's not how you handle it. My question is, according to our personnel policy, because your suggestions we haven't implemented yet, my perception is compensatory time is a form of overtime. There are two forms: cash paid out overtime or compensatory time.
Absolutely correct, non-exempt employees.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, you do.
No, we don't,
Yes,
because
the
the policy says.
That's
There
the
is
policy.
no-
That's right. There is no
That's
for
Correct. So,
exempt employees.
as it sits today, you are 100% correct.
Okay.
Right,
All
that's
right.
the problem.
The discussion we're talking about
What?
is we're gonna go beyond
Right,
that.
I get that,
That's the
I
whole
understand. All that notwithstanding,
You
I'm
are correct.
I'm talking about in the real world today.
You are correct.
That's
Okay,
right.
all right,
Yeah.
okay. Cause everybody wants to call
Yeah,
it comp time, and to me it's not. It's overtime, and the choice will be cash or compensatory time.
And I've gotta say
Only
one more
for salary,
time,
yeah.
depending on the context, we're talking about non-exempt
Yes,
employees,
absolutely
I'm
we are.
100% with you.
That's why to me exempt employees don't even enter into the conversation.
And that's what our policy says.
Right, that's
That's
why I'm
right.
saying it. It doesn't matter. We don't have to
All we gotta do is,
qualify,
let's
right?
don't, you're right, let's
So
address that.
where's this $400 gonna come from?
Yeah, we already got that. So we don't have to qualify whether it's exempt or non-exempt, right now.
Right now,
Okay,
policy
okay,
is very
that's,
clear.
thank you, that's where I was getting. So when you say, well, it doesn't, it depends on if it's non-exempt, no, we're talking about non-exempt. Right? Because the policy says exempt, you're exempt from that.
I'm only discussing, do we want to change the policy as it relates to exempt employees?
Yes.
And if we choose to do that, the suggestion on the table is no
Understood.
money out.
Sign
And
up.
if
Understood.
approved by the
That's how it's-
commissioners,
Yeah.
we can say you may take time
And-
off as during time when it's not necessary for you to be here.
And my question has nothing to do with what we're thinking about doing. You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about right now. I'm just trying to make sure I understand. I don't care what we may
got it.
consider to do.
You got it
Right now.
exactly right,
Okay,
right
all
now.
right.
You're on. Okay, I had one thing left that you brought up, Tom, that reminded me. And that's, you said you used to be on the board of Beckwood. And then that reminded me, the other day you said you were going to be on the board of Sangre.
Correct.
Right? So the only issue there is, are there times now, we have 3 electric companies that buy, that work in Custer County. Is there any?
Not that I'm aware of, but.
Black Hills, Sangre, and San Isabel, aren't those, they have tentacles into the county? I believe.
Yeah, maybe San Isabel does come
Sure,
into
they
the county.
do that, they go up all the way, almost to Jim McKenzie Corner, not quite that far. Anyway, my only question is, there may be times,
as you're on the board of directors, is there things that would cause you to be recused from something that might be important to vote on? And have you thought about
You're talking about
that?
conflict of interest?
Yeah, conflict of interest, possibly, it seems to me. So that was the only thing that I thought of after you, I didn't even think of it until I went home, and then I forgot about it for the last couple of meetings. So I just wanna make sure we're doing the right thing for us here.
Well, I didn't get on the Sangre board for us.
I know, I'm just saying, but from I'm talking about the right thing from a board of commissioners thing that could get in the way, and I know that sometimes Jay handles it pretty good with the lawyer jobs. So, I guess
Something to
something
consider
to
if that
consider
comes up.
when it comes
Certainly,
up.
yeah.
I don't do that.
It's like any position, I mean, you can't
Right, you
project
don't know
what might
what
happen,
could
so you deal with that if and when you're.
Probably wouldn't have been an issue at all if there was only Sangre Crystal around here.
Now, did I mention, I just want you to know that, for an interim basis through the end of the year, I'm working for Civil Clip as their attorney also.
You did mention that.
So you wanna talk about conflict of interest?
You ought to just.
It is all over the place there, and I watch that like a hawk, but your point is very well taken, Bill.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
Nope, we met 5 minutes over 12. That's my-
Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move the adjourn.
Second?
I second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.